Hey besties, welcome or welcome back.
Today I have 60 Jenga block DIYs for you ranging from January to December and everything in between, and I can't wait for you to see them, so let's get started. I am starting with 130 tumbling tower blocks. Now they come 72 in a pack, so you just need 2 packs to do this and you'd have some extras. And what I'm going to do is start off building the lid of what I'm making, which is a Kleenex holder box. And now I'm going to put the Kleenex box on it. It's going to be one of the square ones, not the long rectangular one. So the top piece needs 20 and it's going to have 8 on each side and then 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom, leaving that little rectangular opening for the Kleenex to come out. And I put all my wood glue in this larger wood glue container that I got off of Amazon.
Have you guys checked out my Amazon store? I've got the link down in the description box below. And any of the tools that you see me using, or if I mention I got something at Amazon, I try to get it in the store. You can follow me at the store and it'll let you know when I put new things in there. But this is just there because I know a lot of people want to know where I got something, and this way you can find it. And yes, I make a little teeny bit of money on it, so it's really not about that. It's just so that you know where to get these tools, because if I really love them and use them, you might too. So check it out.
Now I'm using an old paintbrush just to put the glue, on the sides of the blocks so that I can glue them together. Now I'm going to make one of the sides, and you're going to do 2 of each side, but this side has 27 pieces. So there'll be 2 sides with 27 pieces, and then the other side will have 24 pieces. So 2 sides with 24 also. I'm going to use that same glue, and I'm just going to saturate it with glue and then wipe it off with a wet cloth just to, get rid of the excess. But that way it really, really is firm. And look at them. They're holding together so nicely. And any excess glue, I'm just going to sand it right off. Now, I didn't use my sander because of the fact that they were blocks. I was a little nervous. Maybe I'll try it next time. So this time I just used the Dollar Tree sanding sponge and a nail file from the Dollar Tree to get the little parts that were hard. And I rounded all the edges too. And now I'm going to use some painter's tape to help me position it when I put the glue to assemble it. So on the side with the long side of the rectangular opening on top goes the larger 2 pieces, and I'm putting a ton of glue. They're going to be a little wider than the top piece, and that's so that the other 2 sides can fit nicely in between. You'll see when we get there. But I'm using the tape because I don't have any fancy clamps to hold this together. I haven't done enough woodworking to really have a lot of nice clamps. So this works actually if you use tape, as long as you can hold it while you're putting the tape on, and the tape is, not going to break, but I was really careful about it. So the tape worked fine, by the way. So just a little tip, if you need to do something like that, you can use tape. And now I'm just adding the other 2 sides, and you can see here, this is the final side that I'm doing. And then I'm going to go ahead and tape everything, and I'm going to start taping it up higher too, because I want it to be supported all the way around. After the first hour, the wood glue starts to set and you can keep working, but you don't want to do anything too crazy with it because it could still fall apart. But if you want to be safe, I'd wait 24 hours. That's the best way to do that. Now I'm just going to check, and yes, my tissue box fits in there perfectly and the little opening is lined up. I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm just going to do 1 coat over the whole thing except the inside, but I will do the very bottom. And the reason I'm only doing 1 coat is I'm going to go and sand it like crazy. So I'm using a nail file to go around the edges, but then I did it off camera because I thought the camera was on, but it wasn't. And I really heavily sanded the sides, and you'll see in just a second just how much of the wood I wanted to have show through. And I love it. Do you see that? Is that just gorgeous? I love that look so much. So it makes it rustic. Now what I'm going to do is I've got this beautiful tissue paper that I got from chalkitupfancy.com. They also have a YouTube channel. I'll put their link down below. And I'm just going to take a little piece of this block tissue paper. I'm going to do 1 on each side. Now don't tell anyone, but the other side I accidentally did it upside down. But it's going to be on the back, so probably no one will see it. Maybe. Just don't tell anyone, okay? Because I felt kind of silly that I did that. Anyway, I'm using my polyacrylic instead of Mod Podge because I'm going to finish the whole thing in polyacrylic to give it a nice top coat and seal it all in. And I'm using my brayer from Amazon to get off as many air bubbles or, make as best contact as I possibly can. And then the excess, I'm just taking a little utility blade. I'm just going to go right over it. And you see the tissue paper lifted a little. That's because I'm impatient and I didn't wait for it to dry. If you wait for it to dry, that will not happen to you. So now I get smart and I'm using my heat tool from Amazon to go ahead and dry it. I'm working on the other side. Now, if you're very clever, you will see that it's upside down right there. Anyway, I did put it on, and now I'm covering the rest of it in the polyacrylic. And then I added little felt circles at the very bottom so it wouldn't scratch anything up. And it turned out so beautiful, you guys. I love it. It's both functional and beautiful and less than $5. Tumbling tower blocks for this cross that I'm making, and I'm also going to use some of that metal ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Now what I am doing is taking 6 sets of 2 and gluing them side by side, the short ends to each other, and then I'm going to take 2 sets of 3 and do the same thing, and 2 sets of 4 and do the same thing. And there they all are. This will make assembling the cross easier. So I'm going to take the 2 that have the 4 and have them going vertically, and then 1 set of the 2s on each side that are going horizontally. And then I'm going to hot glue that to each other, and then I'm going to take another single block and put it at the seam or the center where they meet. You can kind of see what I'm talking about here. And then I'm going to take 2 sets of 3 and attach them just below the single pieces I just put on. Now that is for the bottom of the cross. Now I'm working on the top. So I've got 4 sets of 2 and I'm going to glue them together as you see, and then put a single one in each of that kind of 90-degree angle center area.
I remember you. I've been thinking about you more than ever.
And then I put a single one just above it going vertically. And then I need 1 piece to connect the 2, and it kind of goes up a little higher than the top of the other ones. And it's so much easier to watch this than me describe it. You can always freeze frame or screenshot if you want to get what it looks like so you can remember. That's what I have to do when I make these things. So again, I'm just adding all those connecting pieces that sit between each of the larger sections that I've put together. And I'm using the Aleene's tacky glue and hot glue for all of them. So here's the last thing I need to do is just attach them. Now I do want to make sure it's really sturdy, so I'm going to put some of that Aleene's tacky glue all over the seams on the bottom.
I guess I'm lonely.
I'm going to take my tin snips from Amazon. I love those things. And I'm going to cut 2 pieces of the metal ribbon that will fit in those gaps that are on there. And I'm going to hot glue them to the very back. And I'll just add a little extra hot glue here and there to make sure it's nice and sturdy.
Starting to grow old, and I thought my youth would last forever.
Isn't that gorgeous? So now I'm going to take some of the other tumbling tower blocks that are left, and I'm just going to put them on the back to reinforce the seams. Because this is long, I don't want it to like break off. So I'm just going to be gluing these blocks all around the bottom. Then I'm going to take my water mister and I'm going to spray it all over the front of the cross, and I'm going to whitewash with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I really love that look. I think it's so pretty. You can still tell it's wood, but you get the nice crisp look of white.
Take me back to when we...
I love how this turned out. You'll have to let me know. You know my husband wants it, right? He always does. Oh, and I put a little jute hanger on the back. To use 42 blocks, and we're going to create a decorative stand. So what we're going to start off with is we're going to take 5 pieces on each side, and we're going to glue each side together. So, one set of 2 at a time. It's always easier when you try to just glue individual pieces together first and then build from there. So there we've got our 5 rows, if you will, and now we're going to glue them to each other using the method that I have been using, which is the Aleene's tacky glue and the hot glue. So now I've got that whole piece together, and that's our base. Then we're going to take 6 more blocks, and we're going to turn them on their short side, and we're going to put them around the 3 of the edges, but not the one on top, because that's going to meet with the upper part of the stand. So we will glue each of those 2 pieces together, and then glue them to the stand. Now we're going to assemble the top portion, and that is going to have 9 on each side there. So I'm just putting them in place before I start gluing them. And then again, I will glue 2 together and then glue all of the rows, the pieces of 2 together to create one solid piece, just like we did with the base. And this will be the back of the stand. Now we also need to surround this with those little pieces that sit on the short side. So while it's laying down, I'm going to go ahead and assemble that, and we will glue them all to each other and then to the sides of the top of the stand, just like we did with the base. And again, we're only going to do 3 sides. We're going to leave the bottom blank this time. So now that is all glued together. Now you see this will fit together very nicely, almost like a little puzzle piece. So I'm just making sure that everything is going to go right. And now I'm going to add the glue to the very bottom piece and also to the top. And then I will attach them together. And it's a nice tight fit, and then you just want to hold it so it doesn't like lean forward or anything. And there you go. Now we have our beautiful stand. I'm going to go ahead and paint this with the Waverly White wax. I don't know if many people use that wax, but I love it. I love the way it looks. And once it's done, this is my nice neutral stand that I can put a plant or a statue or anything that I want. Tell me what you think and what you would put on it. Tumbling tower block DIY. I'm going to make coasters and a holder for them, and I'm using a total of 46 of the blocks. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to separate my blocks into rows of 8 because each coaster is going to take 8 blocks. You put 2 together at a time, so then you have 4 sets of 2, and then right here you're going to see how I am assembling them. And I'm using my square to make sure that everything is lined up nice and straight. And then I'm going to put glue in between all those little intersections, and I'm going to let them sit until the glue is nice and dry. They're super, super easy to make. The hardest part is waiting for the glue to dry. I have this adhesive cork sheet I got from the Crafter's Square at Dollar Tree. I've had it in my stash for quite a while, and I'm going to cut pieces to fit on the very bottom of each coaster so that way it protects the surface they're sitting on and provides a more finished look to the back. I'm just using a utility blade to score the cork adhesive, and then I'm going to cut them with my scissors and make sure that, you know, I've got nice clean edges. I'm going to take off the backing and I'm going to apply it to all 4 of the coasters. And then I'm going to take my utility blade to trim any of the excess around the sides. I made the holder for the coasters and somehow forgot to film it, but it takes 14 of the blocks. I glued 4 of the blocks together, and those are the ones I painted white in the center. Then I put a natural one on either side of that, and then I have 2 on the other 2 sides, 2 each. And then in each corner I have a block standing up, and I just painted the top of that white. So that's how I assembled that one. I've got these rub-on transfers from the Dollar Tree, such cute ones. I found 4 words that I liked that happened to be in the same font, and I cut those out. And poof, I rubbed them on, and there they are. And it's just easy, you just rub them until they come off onto the surface. I added some little buffalo check scrapbook paper in the center because you could see where the back side of the adhesive cork was, and I think it just adds the perfect touch. And then I put polyacrylic protective finish over all the coasters, as well as the holder. So easy. Let me know what you think. Need 23 blocks. And what we're going to do is take sections and make little squares out of 3 of the blocks, and then we're going to turn them in opposite facing ways so that the seams kind of go against each other. And we're going to do 9 blocks of 3 to start. We're going to glue them together using the tacky glue and the hot glue. That way we'll get a long-term hold, and then it'll stick right away so we can keep working. And we're going to do that with 3 pieces for all 9 of those little squares that we're going to make. Now that we have our 9 squares, we're going to arrange them in the right direction so that they're never going the same direction as they're touching one another. So it will look like this. And then we're going to take each row of 3 and we're going to glue them together. Now that we've got that, we're going to glue the pieces of 3 together. Then we're going to take the remaining blocks and we're going to go all the way around the edges and we're going to turn them on their short side. So that gives us a slight edge. That way we won't knock our little game pieces off. We're making a Tic Tac Toe board, which you already saw right in the beginning. So we will do the same thing with gluing the little pieces together first. Each of those sections of 3 will glue together first, and then once they're glued together, we will attach them to the sides of the board. And on this one, we're only going to put the glue towards the bottom half because that's the part that's actually going to be touching the board itself.
I've been thinking about you more than ever. I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old, and I thought my youth.
Once that's all done, we have our cute little board. And now what we need to do is make some legs. So I'm going to use my miter shears from Amazon. And you'll find the link to my Amazon store down below in my description box. And I'm just going to cut them in half, and then I'm going to sand the rough edges, and I'm going to glue them to the very bottom of each of the 4 corners.
Would last forever. Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we.
Now I'm going to take some acrylic paint. I've got this yellow and this turquoise, and I'm going to use a very fine art brush, and I'm just going to paint every other square in the respective colors. That way, when you're playing tic-tac-toe, you know which ones you're aiming for. And then I'm going to take my white wax by Waverly, and I'm going to do all the rest of the raw wood just to give it a finished look. And then I'm going to put a coat of glossy Mod Podge over the whole thing. You'll have to let me know what you think. I think it turned out just adorable, and it was so easy to make. And I use little blocks from Dollar Tree for the game pieces. And use a marker to write the X or the O.
If I close my eyes and think about us, I can see the person I know I should be. 'Cause honestly, I don't have no time to waste.
DIY, I am using 224 of the blocks, and of course some wood glue, and I'm going to use a little brush to apply it. What I need to do is take groups of 3. I'm actually going to do 64 groups of 3 because I'm making a checkers / chessboard, and it's going to be 8 of these 3 pieces together across and 8 down, so that's 64. So I'm just going to glue these little sets of 3 together. I like to put the glue over the top after I put them together. I can sand that off, but that just kind of really binds it together. Now there they are, all 64 of them. That was a lot, let me tell you. And now I just placed the pieces that are going to be on the side. There's 8 on each side, so 8 times 4 is 32. They're not glued down yet, but I just wanted you to see kind of what that shape would look like. I've got this MDF board. It actually came with some furniture I ordered. It was part of the packing, and I saved it, of course. And then I'm just going to measure it because I need the backing to be 16 by 16. But it took 2 different pieces because they weren't 16 inches wide. I'm just using my box cutter to cut them just by scoring it and then taking off the excess and sanding the edges. And yes, that is a nail file. It works so well on these type of things. To attach my 2 pieces of MDF, I'm going to use a combination of wood glue and hot glue. And I'm just going to put that on the side and attach them, and that way it'll dry really quickly with the hot glue, but then it'll cure, for the long haul with the wood glue. And you won't even see this because it's going to be underneath all of the little pieces that I have assembled. I'm just going to lay my pieces out, and I'm alternating the direction of the little block, if you notice, so every other one is going up and then the other one's going sideways. I'm going to sand as much of the glue off as possible before I put this together. And now I'm going to take my burnt umber acrylic paint by Apple Barrel, and I'm going to water it down and make a stain. I'm going to take half of the blocks that are going to go on the face of the board and all of the blocks except 8 that are going to go around the exterior. And I'm going to stain them. and I'll wipe away the excess. For the rest of the little squares, I'm going to use Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint because I want this to be kind of like every other one is going to look stained and then white. There you go, just like that. Now they're not glued down, but they're just placed at the moment. Now the corners, I'm going to use natural blocks without staining them or painting them, and then everything else has either paint or stain on it. And I'm just going to glue down the whole thing. I won't make you watch the whole thing because I'll be honest with you, this took a long time. It came out so good and I love it, but it really did. You need patience to do this. I don't have patience, but somehow I did it anyway. So if I can do it, you can definitely do it. And yay, the last two pieces. I can't tell you how happy I was at this moment. And here's just a look at it, and I haven't done the back yet, but oh gosh, you guys, I absolutely am loving this. It just came out so nice. I'm gonna trim that MDF board around the edges where it hangs over a little with my utility knife, and that was pretty easy. You just score it and it comes off, and then I sanded it a little, and also those corners, because I did them with kind of like beveled edges, so I just cut off those little corners. Then I took my little nail file and I just went around all of those edges on the corners so they wouldn't be super sharp. That nail file is just perfect for little things like that, so easy to handle. For the back, I don't want to leave it looking like the MDF, so I'm going to do a faux wood technique. But first I'll sand the back and make it nice and smooth. I like to take a very, very messed up chippy brush. This one is very bad, but it will work perfect for this technique. And my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. And I'm just going to put it all on in one direction so it looks kind of like a grain going one way. I dry that with my heat tool from Amazon so that I can move on to the next step. And I recently got this tool from Amazon, and when you roll it across, it'll make a kind of a wood grain look. So I'm going to try it today. But first I'm going to use my Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm going to apply that in the same direction as I did the white paint so it has that grain look. But when you do the wax over the white paint, it looks like real wood. It's amazing. And once I finish painting that, I'm going to add a little extra on the top to make it a little thicker, and then I'm going to take that roller and just go over it, and it's giving it some really interesting lines, and I'm loving that so far. I'm doing it in little sections that are about as wide as the roller itself. Now once I get those all on there, I'm going to take a little brush and I'm going to kind of twist it like around in a circle. You'll see me doing that here in just a moment, and make a few wood knots, and they came out pretty nice. You just have to push hard when you do it so that it really moves, in this case, the antique wax around. And here's a close-up of that grain effect that the roller created. And here I am making the little knots. I am so happy with how this turned out. Now I just have to figure out what to use for the little pieces for both checkers and chess. Maybe another DIY. Power block functional DIY, we're going to use 26 of the blocks, and what we're going to make is a phone holder, a cell phone holder, and my husband needs one, so this is for him, so it's not very frilly or anything, but I'm going to use that same wood glue as I did before, and I'm going to start assembling the pieces. Now the very bottom of it is going to have 3 rows of 2. And then I'm going to take 2 and put them together, and they will actually stand up at the end, and that's where the phone will kind of hit again so it doesn't fall over. And now I'm building the very back of it with the remaining blocks. So just, make an even 2 stacks, and then again, use the wood glue all over it. And, because I use the wood glue, everything takes a little bit longer, but it really is the best choice when you're using wood because it becomes part of the wood, and then it's just so, so solid. And the tumbling tower blocks are not all the same, and that's just going to add to making this feel more rustic because it's almost impossible to get them all exactly the same. You'd be throwing out so many of them. So I let it go, tried to fill it in with glue, wipe it off, and just let it be. I just had to relax, get my wet cloth out, wipe it off, and then of course I sand all of that excess off. And I also like to round the corners of the edges of the actual pieces because it just gives it a softer look, because those edges are kind of sharp and you can actually hurt yourself if you bump it against them, especially if your skin is a little bit on the thinner side. Now I'm going to assemble that base piece, and I'm going to put the little stopper piece on the end where the phone can't go any further forward. And you'll see in a second when I put the whole thing together. This one is so easy, you guys. So easy. You could make a couple of them out of a box of the tumbling tower blocks. I still can't say that right. Anyway.
Hey, are you on social media? I am. I have an Instagram, a Facebook, a Pinterest, and a TikTok, and I'd love for you to come join me. I've got all the links down in my description box down below.
Lots of sanding in fast motion, because how fun would that be to just watch me sand? Anyway, I digress.
So please check it out. Come follow me and see what I'm doing on there. Sometimes there's sneak peeks, and sometimes it's just fun stuff that I don't put on my YouTube channel.
Oh, and in case you were wondering, yeah, I'm adding more glue. I just felt like it just made it more solid. I don't know if you had to or not, but it just made me feel better. And like I said, I wiped it off or took the excess off with a wet towel. Now I am assembling the back piece onto the base, and you see now how that is shaped. And I think in a minute here, yep, there's my phone. And see, it doesn't go anywhere because the little stopper holds it back. I'm going to take 2 colors of apple barrel paint, burnt umber and warm buff. I'm going to mix them together, and then I'm going to get my little mister bottle out, and I'm going to spray the little spongy thing I'm going to use to put that on the wood. Because I want this watered down, I'm going to turn it into a stain and see what happens there. It's not brown and it's not beige. It's a really nice combination, and I'm still going to wipe off the excess as soon as I'm done. I love the color that comes out. I asked my husband what color, what wood he wanted, and this worked out perfectly to give him what he wanted. I've got a ton of stickers between Dollar Tree and Walmart. So I'm going to use the S. It's like a copper colored S. It's a really cool raised up sticker from Walmart. I'm just going to put it right on the back for our last name. And then I've got these rub-on transfer stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I've got the word hello. And then I've got another sticker with a question mark. So I thought it was cute. On the side that the phone is facing, it would say hello, like you're answering the phone. And on the back, it's got his initial on it. It's actually his first name and last name, so that worked out really nice. And you know, these transfers come off really easy when you kind of scratch on the back of something, releases the little transfer. Now the E, I touched it, and I can tell you more about the bandages in a little bit, but I could not hold it, so I accidentally touched the side of it, but I'm going to use a little black marker and fix that right at the end, and it's not even a problem. There we go, just a couple of dots here and there, and then I found another little spot in the O. I think it looks pretty good, actually. And now I'm going to take my polycrylic again, and I'm going to put a top coat all over it. This is by Minwax. And first I'm going to dry that ink just in case, because I don't want to move it all over the place from where I touched it up. Just going to do a couple, I think I did 3 coats total all over it. And then I'm going to take my little felt circles and put 4 on the bottom in the corners so that it'll sit nicely. And you guys, that's it. It's so easy, really cute, and super functional. Out getting the tumbling blocks at Dollar Tree, and what you'll need just to make one of these stands is a total of 21, and that will be for the 2 smaller ones, 21 each. And if you want to make a larger one, you just kind of have to measure out what you need the size to be and add more blocks accordingly. I forgot to film the part where I used my Waverly antique wax to go ahead and stain them and then wipe a little bit off with a paper towel. What I'm doing now is I've created 3 stacks of 3, and then I'm creating 2 stacks of 3 going one way and 1 on the side, and then I have 4 for what's going to be the side kind of top legs. I'm gluing all of these pieces together in the little formations that I had laid out using the Dollar Tree craft wood glue. Feel free to use a generous amount of this glue. It does dry clear so you won't see it, but I did wipe off excess as I went. I don't have one of those 90-degree ruler things yet, so I just kind of used the side of my mat board to make sure that the ends were straight. I'm sure you could do a better job than I did if you had one of those ruler things. And I'm just showing you how I assemble one. The rest are assembled the exact same way. You'll want to let them dry for at least an hour to make sure it's really solid. Once dry, I'm now going to assemble the stand. So I'm going to take those two little side pieces that have the three going one direction and one going the other, and I'm going to glue them right to the middle of the ones that have 9 on them. And I'll do the same thing for the other 2 stands. I'm going to let those dry for at least an hour before I add the top pieces, which I'm doing right now. I'm going to add glue to the top of each end of the stands, and then I'm going to stand my little tumbling block actually not the same direction as the piece I'm standing on, but so the edges hang over, but it's also level with the side. I hope that makes sense, but you can see when you're looking at it how I've turned them. Here they are, all finished with the Maramos on them, but that just wasn't enough for me. I felt like it needed more, especially since it's sitting on wood, and I thought wood on wood, I need some kind of a distinction there. I have this folk art rose gold metallic paint that I used for my dresser that I redid in another video, which I will link for you. And I thought if I just paint the very bottom of the blocks and then like a little piece of the top of the, arms or legs, whatever that stand up, that would just give it a little extra pizzazz. I don't know, what do you think? I mean, it could have looked good either way.
I've got 21 tumbling tower blocks and a picture frame I picked up on sale from IKEA. You could use any frame you want. Then I'm going to use my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and Waverly Ballet slipper chalk paint. We're going to remove the backing and the inside of the picture frame. We do not need the plexiglass or the little white frame thing. We're just going to use the backing. I've got this little contact paper, removable contact paper from the Target dollar spot, and I'm just going to figure out how much I need to cover that whole back piece of the picture frame. I thought this was a nice subdued color for like maybe Valentine's or spring. So I'm just going to remove the backing slowly and start at one end and then just kind of flatten it as I go. And then to make sure that it's really, sitting nicely on the backing, I'm going to take my brayer that I got on Amazon. If you're interested, it's down in my Amazon store, which is always in the description box if you need anything. I'm going to take a rotary cutting tool and I'm just going to cut off that excess all the way around that frame backing. And there it is, nice and clean. I've also got this piece of cardboard that I had in my stash. I'm going to kind of flat out that center part where it folds. And I'm going to use this as the basis for creating a heart with my tumbling tower blocks. I'm looking at a picture I saw where somebody created one. And so you're just using rows of 3 and then a couple rows that have less in them. And you just stack them right next to each other. I want to see how it's going to look. And now I'm adding the 2 sides, and whatever you do the middle, and then whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. So it's actually pretty easy. This is a great time to screenshot or freeze this frame, so you can have this if you need it. I'm going to hot glue each piece. I'm going to start on one side. That way I can push them snug up against each other. And now I'm going to do the rest of that side, and now it's adhered, and there's the whole thing. I'm going to sand it. I'm going to paint the whole thing white. I'm going to dry it with my heat tool from Amazon. And then I'm going to use a mister and I'm going to spray it with a little water. I'm going to use the ballet slipper to create an ombre effect. So I'll do solid ballet slipper on the top. In the middle, I'll do a mixture of the white and the ballet slipper, and then the bottom will already be white. Then I'm going to spray the Krylon clear glaze over the top so that it's nice and sealed. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and just cut securely all around the entire shape of the heart, and then I'll have a nice backing for it, and I can hot glue that directly to the picture frame backing, and that way it's going to stay in one piece no matter what. Isn't that gorgeous? I am loving how this turned out, and it's not like in your face hot pink or red or anything. It's just very subdued. I'm going to replace the backing, and that's it. Let me know what you think. A lot of lanterns on my channel. I see them everywhere, but I decided to try one with these tumbling tower blocks and those pearls from the Dollar Tree. And this is going to have 56 pieces total, and I'm going to use 4 sets of 8 to make the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to be hot gluing and tacky gluing them together to make, it's kind of like a rectangle shape. It's not a square exactly. And you'll see here I'm putting them together. I'm just putting
2 going vertically, and then 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom going horizontally, and then another 2 going vertically. And you can see what I'm doing. I'm putting the horizontal ones in between the 2 vertical ones. And there's all 4 of those. And now I'm going to need 4 sets of 6 blocks each. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go on the wider side there, and I'm going to attach 2 together and then another 2 together. And then I will put all 6 of those together, attaching them on the little smaller ends. And I need 3 more of those, so there'll be a total of 4. And those are the long portions of the lantern. Now I'm going to take these Dollar Tree pearls, and I'm going to start with the 4 corners, but then I will start filling them in as I go till I get as many as I think would look good, on there. I'm just going to use hot glue for that, and then I'll put one of those little squares on top of the piece with the pearls. So there'll be 2 that come out exactly the same.
I wake up in my bed, wondering if you have called.
So there you go. There's the piece finished, and then I'm going to hot glue the second one right on top. I'll do the same thing with the other one. So now we've got the top and the bottom of the lantern with the pearls in between, and then I'm going to attach the sides, and I'll do everything the same way, tacky glue and hot glue. And once I get all 4 of those on, then I will attach the very top. And I'm also going to reinforce seams all on the inside wherever I can. I just want to make sure this stays in place.
The sunlight at my face and leave a shadow on the wall. I'm falling down.
And now we're going to attach the top, just as I said.
There's a wreath, 'cause these illusions in my head won't go away. I'm climbing up a mountain, trying my best not to fall. But if I fall.
So now that this is all assembled, I'm going to take some white wax from Waverly and just brush it on everything but the inside. And I think it just turned out beautiful. And I'm going to put some greenery inside. You could style this any way you want. Let me know what you think. I'm going to use 34 blocks. Now, some of them have these little cutouts from the back of a calendar from Dollar Tree, and my friend Jamie gave me a bunch of her crafting stash because she's focusing on her Etsy shop, which is Oh Simply Irresistible. She makes the cutest little Disney ears, and I'll have the link down below in my description box in case you want to check it out. Great gift idea. Anyway, each of those little signs are made up of 3 tumbling tower blocks and then the little cutout of the calendar glued on. And Jamie actually included those in the stuff she gave me. Now I'm going to take the rest of the blocks and I'm going to put 2 between each one going horizontally, and then 1 between each section going vertically, and then at the top I'll add an extra row, and at the bottom I'll add an extra row. And you'll see that as we get going here. I'm going to start gluing the pieces of 2 together and then position them using the Aleene's tacky glue and the hot glue. So now that I've got all those done, I need to put the 2 on the top together and then the 2 on the bottom together, again going horizontally. You see how I'm doing that right there. Then I need to start adding the pieces that go downward. So I'm just going to glue each piece. The last thing we're going to add are those little pictures. And I'm kind of calling this like an affirmation decor piece because it's very encouraging words that are on those little calendars, and just to make you, feel good and think good things about yourself. And I think that. So there you go. Now I'm going to paint this whole thing in my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'll do the front and the back. And then I'm going to put hot glue like above and below each one, and then turn them upside down and push it right over the top. That way if any glue oozes out, it shows up on the back, not the front. And that worked out really well. And then I'm going to add a little sawtooth hanger that I ordered on Amazon. I'm going to screw those 2 little screws right in there. And then I'm going to cover it with some matte Mod Podge, the whole thing. Got these cute little pieces of greenery. I think I got those at a thrift store. I'm just going to make like 2 sides that the middles are glued together. And then I'm going to take this dahlia from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to trim off some of the petals in the back to make it smaller. But first I'm going to tie some jute around the center of my little greenery arrangement. And then I will get rid of some of those petals on the dahlia and hot glue the dahlia right to the middle where the twine is wrapped around the greenery. And that's just going to be such a pretty little centerpiece right there at the top. And I just love how this turned out. It's just so encouraging and uplifting. And it's pretty too. I think it's very spring-like. You'll have to let me know what you think. I've used those little pieces on the back of the calendars in the past. I've made little blocks out of them, and I'll link below some videos that I have used them to make those cute little blocks that I put on tiered trays, and I think you'll really like those too. I'm using Jenga blocks, or actually tumbling tower blocks, and some twine from the Dollar Tree and some white chalk paint. I'm just going to paint all of the blocks, put them on some painter's tape, and do all the sides, dry them off, and I'm not going to show you all of that because it takes forever. Anyway, there they are. They're all painted, and then I'm going to add some Mod Podge to them. And then I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to start writing words that are associated with Easter from a spiritual standpoint. And so I write that on all of them, just on one side. And then I'm going to take a very, very fine tip art brush and some black acrylic apple barrel paint. And I'm going to just go over what I wrote in pencil. And you really need a fine point brush for this, otherwise it's almost impossible. And so I do that with all of them. And as soon as that's done, I'm going to take my twine, I'm going to add some beads to the end, and then I'm going to lay it out, and I'm going to start hot gluing the little blocks on to the twine. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I'm going to do it to all of them, and then add a bead in between each one and beads at the end, and then make a little loop and a knot. And that's it, you guys. It's a beautiful Easter garland that you can add to, a greenery garland, or put it on a tray, or put it on a shelf. It's beautiful. This could not get any easier. I mean, seriously, it's so easy to do this, and I hope you love it too. Tower box and make this beautiful plant stand. I'm going to have 3 groups of 10 and 1 group of 6. Now the way I'm going to do each group of 10 is I'll lay one down, put one sideways, lay one down, put one sideways until all 10 are in a row. And then I will take the tacky glue and the hot glue and put those together, so I will have 4 rows of those that are laying down and facing upward, if that makes sense. This just gives it a more interesting look, a little more textured, and maybe even a little boho. So this is going to be the 4 sides of the plant stand, or actually it's kind of a plant holder. And then I'm going to put them together. The 2 sides on one end will go inside of the 2 sides on the other end. It's just the best way to make it look nice without a weird kind of angled edge at the corners. And you can see I'm just assembling them here, and then I'm down to the last piece, and I just put them on at the same time on each end. It's that simple. I'm going to go in and reinforce some of the seams on the inside with the hot glue. Now I'm going to take the remaining pieces, and there's going to be 2 on each corner. So I'm going to put the first one right on top of it, and then I'll add some more glue on the next one and attach it to the base and then the side of the other piece that's there. And so with those 8 pieces, I'll do that to all 4 corners.
Wondering if you have cold. The sunlight at my face and leave a shadow on the wall.
And there it is. And it looks so cute just the way it is. You wouldn't have to do anything. But I'm going to take this little ribbon spindle thing. I'm going to cut off the edges on the bottom and rip off the entire top. And then I'm going to trace the circle onto a piece of burlap that I have. And I'll cut that out, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the very bottom. I want to cover up that ribbon spindle. I'm going to take some of that scrap burlap and just wrap it around the edges as well. This is just creating a little piece on the inside for the greenery. In this case, it's going to be a succulent to sit. So it fits right in there perfectly, but I'm going to add some hot glue underneath on the bottom to secure it. And then I'm going to take my Fern Waverly chalk paint. I'm going to paint the entire top section and then just a little bit of the inside and the bottom with that color and leave the rest natural. I'm going to cover it with polyacrylic and then add my succulent. Isn't that beautiful? we're going to use 46 of the blocks. I'm going to use my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm going to start off by making 2 of the pieces that are exactly the same, and they're little like planters. So it only takes 12 blocks for each of those. So you can see me here putting together 4 of them, and I'm just using hot glue for this one. And then I'm going to have the 2 pieces that are the same, and then the last 4 blocks I'm going to put one the other direction on each side, and actually 2 on each side, because you could do it on the other one the same, but I'm going to do 2 there and then use the last piece to place right on top. You'll see what I'm doing here. Normally I would recommend you use wood glue. I was kind of trying to be in a hurry, and I probably shouldn't have done that. I should always use wood glue. And there they are. I made 2 of these little planter boxes. We're actually going to create a bench that sits on those planter boxes. So this is the back of the bench. And as you can see, there's 3 across and 5 going down. And I hot glued those together. And this is the seat of the bench. And it looks like there's 9 of those. And then I'm going to take the 2 remaining pieces sitting on the side there, put one going up on each end of the seated part of the bench, and then I'm going to take the back and lean it up against those pieces and just hot glue all the way across there and set that right on there. So now we have a bench without legs, but it does have a backing, and we're going to put each planter with the little short side underneath the bench, and we're going to hot glue those right to the top of each of the planters. I hope that makes sense. You can always freeze frame or take a screenshot if you're not sure, but that creates the little bench. Isn't that cute? I added a little base in the middle because I felt like it needed more stability. So what I did was I took 1 piece against of the 3 that are remaining there, the 2 on the outside, and I left the middle one alone, and then I put 1 more block right between them and added some extra glue for security, just to have a little more of a place for it to sit down on. I just felt like that added stability. I'm going to take that paint and I'm just going to do a nice coat. I'm not going to worry about making it perfect because it'll look a little distressed if I do it like that. So I painted every part of it, and I added some craft paper to the bottom with hot glue to finish it off. I'm going to add some moss in there that I had left over. I took a couple of these Dollar Tree pics and I just put some little flowers in there and greenery. You could put anything you want in there. I particularly would go for smaller ones. And I'm going to add a little piece of the pink just to give it a little more color. I hope you guys like this one. I really love it.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will follow. You woke me up, I no longer
Block hack, you're going to need 24 blocks. I'm going to use that tacky glue and hot glue again, and I'm going to make a little wreath, and I'll show you that in a minute. So the way I'm going to create my squares is I'm going to start with the first block, put the glue on it, and then have the second block right next to it. Do you see what I mean, where the tops meet? Now this next one, it's going to keep going around almost like a chain, and they just kind of fit inside of each other as you go. It's probably easier for you to just see what I'm doing right here. Now we're going to need 5 more of those because there's 6 total that we need, and there they are. Now we're going to glue them together so we have one solid piece. All the pieces will be glued together. We're going to paint it with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I love that look. It's just so clean. Now I'm going to take these pieces of greenery that I ordered on Amazon, and I'm going to take the wire that they were on. I'm just going to round it out and then wrap it around itself to create a circle. It's definitely bendable, so you can do that. It's pretty stiff, so it takes a little bending, but once you get it, and I just wrap that end around just to make sure it's going to stay in place. And since I cut all those little teeny pieces of the greenery off, I'm going to start gluing them around that circle and make a little teeny wreath that will go on this window. I'm just kind of calling it a window. And I think that's going to look so pretty when we do that. And there it is. You can make it as full as you want. And then I'm going to take this very sheer pink ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to wrap it underneath the top of the wreath and pull just enough so that it can hang over the back and it can be hot glued on the back. So it looks like it's just kind of hanging there. Got it in position. I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue on the back, and I'm just going to bend that right over and dab that in. And both sides automatically go in because it's sheer ribbon. And I'm going to cut off the excess. Now I'm going to add a little bit more glue there because I want to add a little piece of jute just to create a hanger in case I decide I want to hang it up. And then I'll put a little more glue and a little piece of masking tape, and that thing will be there forever. Now, I felt like the wreath was a little plain. First, I'm going to go ahead and secure it to the front so it doesn't move around. But then I just didn't have any little teeny flowers, but I did have some little kind of like sequins. Now, I'm not a sequin glam girl, but I thought that might look pretty if they were just subtle. So I just put 6 of them on there. And, you know, I actually kind of like it. I think it's cute. You'll have to let me know what you think. Do you like the sequins, or what might you have put on if you didn't have any little teeny flowers handy? Let me know. Tower blocks and this metal ribbon, all from the Dollar Tree. I'll also use some florals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a little mini crate. I'm going to be using Aleene's tacky glue and hot glue to attach the pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the 5 pieces I have right here and put them all together like straight in a row. And I'm going to need to do that twice because those are the 2 longer sides of the mini crate. Now I'm going to take 2 pieces that I glued on top of each other and put one on either side of the 3 that I put together for the bottom. I glued those together off camera. Now I'm going to take the 2 sides that I created. I'm just going to attach them to the sides.
I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old, and I thought my youth would last forever.
I'm also going to reinforce with some hot glue on the inside. Now to give this that crate look, I'm going to take 2 blocks on each side and kind of stagger them a little bit. Now, so here I'm going to put a little bit on each side, and I'm going to take a block and kind of float it, you know, not touching the one below it. I'm going to do another one right above it, which will also not be touching that one in the middle. And that gives it that crate look where you can see through the sides. And I'm going to do the same thing to both sides. I've got these little wooden blocks from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put 4 of them on, one just inside of each of the corners there. You can see how I've done that there. And then I'm going to take the last 2 blocks and just glue them right to the top over those little blocks. And that'll give it like the handle for the little crate. Isn't that cute? I'm going to take the metal ribbon and only put it on the long sides. So I cut 2 pieces. Then I'm going to spray with my Mister some water on the little crate and then kind of whitewash it with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. Now I'm going to take the little pieces that I cut of the metal ribbon and I'm just going to hot glue both sides of it or ends of it to the 2 long sides of the mini crate. Easy for me to say, right? I love this as a little embellishment. And I've always got foam around from packages, so I just cut a little piece. I'm going to hot glue it right in there. And then I'm going to take these beautiful wildflowers from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut little teeny pieces off the pics and put them in there with some lavender until I like the way it looks. And I think this would look so cute on a tiered tray.
Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid.
You'll have to let me know what you think. I love little mini things. I just think they're so cute. Tower blocks to make this really pretty succulent like hanging holder. I'm going to start off by making a square, and I like to glue the pieces inside of each other, and of course using the hot glue and the Aleene's tacky glue at every seam that I connect them. Once I have the square, I'm going to set a piece where the other 2 pieces meet on all 4 sides. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to just put it right where they meet there and then turn it to the next side, put it right where they meet again, and I'll do that on all 4 sides.
I've been thinking about you more than ever. I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old.
Once I have those on, I'm going to take the last 4 pieces and just add them to the sides that are shorter, and that kind of looks like almost like a little pinwheel kind of a look. I'm going to make 3 altogether of those exact same things. Then I'm going to attach them together so that it makes a kind of a V shape. I wanted it to be slightly angled, and I'm just going to glue them all of the places where they touch. And I just kind of made up this design. Honestly, you can just play with the blocks and do whatever you like. That's what I did.
And I thought my youth would last forever. Take me back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was us.
Now that they're all attached, I'm going to use my mister and put it all over the front. And then I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and I'm going to very, very lightly whitewash the whole top. I love that look. I just keep doing it. Then I'm going to take my Agave Waverly chalk paint and I'm going to get my brush wet. And I'm just going to very lightly kind of rub the paint across to come out with a much lighter color of the agave by blending it with the white. And I just think that's beautiful. Got a little sawtooth hanger that I'm going to put on there in the back. And then I've got 3 beautiful succulents from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use my tin snips and I'm just going to cut the long stem off because it would just stick out in the back. And once I've got all 3 of them cut, I'm actually going to just hot glue them right to each of those centers of the squares. And that's it. This was so easy. And look how pretty it is. You could use any color you want, any kind of succulent or flower. You could even put a little moss around it if you wanted. But I decided to keep it simple and I think it's just really pretty and fresh.
If I close my eyes and think about us, I can see the person I...
Can't wait to put it in my home. Let me know what you think. I'm going to use 35 of the Tumbling Tower blocks, and I'm going to make a wall hanging that holds little flowers or plants. So, like if you want to propagate, for example, you could use this for that. So it's functional, but it will also be decorative. Now I'm going to make 16 of these little like L shapes, so that's 32 blocks right there. And I'm just going to glue each set of 2 together, and then I'm going to glue them stacked upon each other. It's kind of like a herringbone pattern, and there it is. I love that look so much. Then I'm going to have 3 more blocks, and those will be my little shelves. I have these cute little glass containers. They're mini from the Dollar Tree, and they can be used, like I said, you could put water in them to propagate a plant, like when you cut off a little piece and you want to start growing it, or you could put faux flowers in there. I'm going to do that just for the purpose of the video. And now I'm just seeing how I'm going to do it. Put some wood filler on there. That's going to be a problem later. I'll show you. I taped in the middle where I decided I want to make it 2-tone, so on the bottom I'm using the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm going to put that on the edges as well up to the tape. And then I'm going to sand it a lot. I want this to be very, very distressed, and I love that look where you can just see some of the white paint, but you see a lot of the wood. That is just a really cool look to me. And I'm also going to take my nail file and sand around the edges. Now I'm going to use my stain that I make homemade, which is with the burnt umber paint from Apple Barrel, and mixed with water. Now, because I put the wood filler on there, it does not stick to that area, and I didn't sand it good enough. You see here, that looks terrible. I try like 3 times and then finally decide I'm gonna go get my sander and I'm gonna sand it way down, which I did. And then at that point, I was able to actually apply the stain. So here I am on the 3rd try, and yeah, that was it. Look at it, doesn't look good no matter what I do. So take it to the sander and bam, there we go. And now look what happens when I use it. It's completely beautiful. It looks perfect. I'm going to do those edges as well. And I decided not to wipe the excess because I love the look. I'm going to take my little nail file and I'm going to just sand off any of the excess paint or stain that got on the back so it's nice and clean. And then I'm going to use a sawtooth hanger that I have ordered on Amazon, and I'm just going to put that in the back to hang it. And I'm going to cover the whole thing with my polyacrylic protective finish. I stained the 3 little shelves, and I'm going to hot glue them directly onto the front of my little plant stand. Now I'm kind of offsetting 2 to the left and 1 to the right just to give it a staggered look. Because this won't be heavy, I didn't think it needed E6000, but you certainly can do that. So now I'm just looking to see where they're going to go, and what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to drill a hole just below where the cap is, maybe a little further than that. I put some tape on there to measure where it is and also to keep my board from getting all scratched up with the drill. And then I'm going to mark the spot right in the center of each of those, and I'm going to take my drill and I'm just going to make a hole, and that's why I have a piece of wood underneath so it doesn't go through my desk. And technically this is a power tool and this is very easy to use, so I encourage you to try it. Next, I'm going to take some twine. I'm going to cut 3 pieces of the same size. And then I'm going to take a little needle that I have and I'm going to thread the twine in it. I'm going to double it up and put a knot on the end that's folded so it'll stay on the back. And I'm going to thread the 2 pieces on the other end where I have, where it's doubled up. And I'm going to put it right through the hole, pull it through, and then make sure the knot is big enough to not go through the hole. And then I'm going to do the same thing with all 3 of those holes. I've also got this really cute ribbon that I ordered on Amazon. I love the ticking stripes. And I'm going to measure 3 pieces, 1 for each of the little baby containers that wraps around it perfectly. I'm going to hot glue it on. I'm going to do it right about where that twine is coming out when I place it on the little shelf, and you'll see why in a second. And now that all 3 are done, I'm going to take the little caps off because we don't need those. And I decided that it looked kind of funny with nothing there, so I'm just going to wrap twine around the threads of each of the little containers because I'm not going to be using the caps on these. So that way it'll just give it a little more of that rustic look that the rest of it has, and it looks really good when it's all done. Now that I've got all 3 of those done, I am going to secure those knots on the back with a little hot glue. Now I'm going to put some hot glue right in the center of where the 2 pieces are coming out, and I'm going to set the glass container right there that holds it in place, and I'm going to tie a double knot in the front, and you see how it lines up between the 2 black stripes, and that's what I was hoping for. And then I'm going to trim each of those 2. I did that with all 3 and it just came out so cute. I love it. I'm going to take 16 of the tumbling power blocks total, and I'm basically going to make a picture frame with them. I'm using that piece of foam board, and what I'm going to do is put them on their side, the narrow side. And so the top and the bottom are going to be 3 each, and then the rest are going to be evenly divided on the sides. I'm going to use the wood glue, and I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue as well. And I'm using my square ruler to help me get right angles and straight lines. And I will tell you, it's not easy with these blocks because, like I mentioned before, they're not the same. And even if you think they're the same, when you get done, they end up not being the same. Have no idea why. It's kind of crazy. But I'm just kind of figuring out how many I'm going to need based on the little size I'm using of the foam board, and then I will glue them all together. You know who uses these blocks all the time and makes amazing things is Dee from She's So Crafty. I'll put her link down in the description box. That girl's amazing, and she is so inspiring to me. Now that I have my frame shaped out, I'm going to start working on what's going to go on the foam board on the inside. And I've got this really cute set of stickers. I think I got them, oh gosh, I want to say from Hobby Lobby. And then I also have some really nice scrap of paper from Hobby Lobby. And then I'm using a Jot glue stick from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to attach that piece of scrap of paper that I have already cut down to size right over the foam board. Once I have both sides adhered to the foam board, I'm going to take my stickers and I'm going to pull off that larger pitcher full of flowers, and I'm just deciding how I'm going to place it. I'm going to trim some of the little pieces that are behind the flowers because they don't look as good on that scrap of paper in my opinion. And then I cut out a little butterfly that I found on that paper as well. And I'm just going to place it right above the flowers. And I just thought that was kind of cute to add the butterfly. I didn't want to waste it. And I love it. It's just a very nice kind of spring looking picture. And we're not there yet, but it's nice to think about. Now I'm just going to sand down my pieces of block and I'm going to put the whole thing together. I have all the sides, glued together, but not the entire frame. And I'm going to use a combination of wood glue and hot glue, and I'm going to use tape to hold it in place as if it were like a clamp of some kind. And it works. It works very well to do that and hold it right there until I feel like it's dry enough for me to remove the tape. Now, if you're wondering why I have these sort of faux bandages on, and in earlier DIYs I have real bandages, I was using some hot glue when I first started doing this one, and I placed it wrong, and I wanted to take it off, and I was trying to, kind of cut off the big lumps of hot glue, and I jabbed myself with an X-Acto knife twice, right on my thumb and right on my pointer finger, and of course it started bleeding, and I don't think I needed stitches. I think I was able to stop the bleeding, but I was determined to keep crafting and finish my project, so that's what happened. Now I am taking the foam board and I'm attaching it to the back of the frame, and I'm just gonna clean up any loose ends, and then I'm gonna take this really beautiful sisal rope that I got from burlapfabric.com, and I'm just gonna hot glue it right around the inside edges, and that kind of covers up any of the little mishap of what I was doing when I made a mistake earlier. Then I put that around, and you want to know something? I actually think it looks really good with that on there, so it was a happy accident. Oh, and I'm okay now. I'm not even wearing band-aids anymore, so it's already healing. Now I'm just going to put some more of that sisal rope on the back and make a little hanger. And then I'm going to get some brown craft paper, and I'm going to cut a shape that's pretty close to the size of this picture for the back. I'm going to hot glue it on and then trim around the edges. Then I'm going to pull the little hanger through a little slit that I'm going to make in the back, and then that's it, and this one will be done. It's actually pretty, but it's functional because it's a picture frame that I created. Let me know down in the comments, do you ever make functional crafts or DIYs, or do you only make decorative things? I'd love to know. I'm using the inside of a Dollar Tree canvas, just the frame, some skewers from Dollar Tree, and some tumbling tower blocks. I'm going to take my sanding sponge and I'm going to just make sure that all of the edges are nice and splinter free, and I'm going to clean up any of the dust left behind with my Ladybug vacuum, and all of my tools are down in my Amazon store, so feel free to check it out in case you need some. I'm going to use my Kills white primer, and I'm going to paint this entire frame, back, front, inside, everywhere, just the whole entire thing. I'm going to use my heat tool so I can dry this quickly and move on to the next step. I'm creating a little mini window, and so for the pane dividers I'm going to use these little skewers. But first I'm just going to tape them down and paint them in that same white paint, front and back. Then I'm going to take my tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to paint those as well, just the parts that you're going to see. And now I'm going to figure out where I'm going to be placing them all. I'm going to create a little window box for florals. It's going to be so cute when this is done. I'm just positioning everything, and then I'm going to start hot gluing it to the actual frame and creating my little box. Once all of the pieces are in place, I'm going to go back in with the hot glue in the underside and just kind of reinforce every seam so that it's nice and secure. Now I'm doing the next level, which is going to be the very front, and I'm going to put them vertically, and then again reinforcing wherever I can. I don't think I need anything stronger than hot glue because I'm just putting light florals in here, but if you were putting something heavier, I would suggest a more permanent, stable glue. Next, I'm going to take my 4 skewers, and I'm going to figure out exactly how long they need to be to put 2 vertical and 2 horizontal to make my little panes for the window. And I'm just going to use my little snips to go ahead and cut them to size, and then I'm going to hot glue them down and do the vertical ones, and then I'm going to do the horizontal ones. And this is so easy. they're definitely secure. I put hot glue under and over each of the ends of the skewers, so there's no question that this is staying in place. Next, I'm going to very lightly dry brush some Antique Wax by Waverly over all of the white surfaces. And basically, I'm going to put a little bit on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then just kind of drag it around the edges and just wherever I want to see a little bit of distressing. Like I said, this is going to be a very, very light dry brush. I just want a little bit of an effect of it not being like stark white. I always save styrofoam whenever I get something in a package, so I'm just going to cut a little teeny rectangular piece of this very messy styrofoam, and I'm going to hot glue it into that little window box that I created. And then I'm going to take some really cute Dollar Tree florals, and I'm just going to snip them all to make them the right size, and I'm going to start putting them inside of this styrofoam, and it just looks so cute already. Oh my gosh, I love these colors, I love this pick, and this is just turning out so cute. I'm going to add some of these cute little off-white flowers. I think it's just the right touch with the purple and the yellow and the green, and like I said, I'm just really loving this. And then I'm going to take some jute cord from the Dollar Tree, and I'm literally going to hot glue it to the back and wrap it around kind of crisscross, and then I'm going to push it around and kind of shape it the way I want it. This is just to add that little farmhouse touch to it, and I absolutely love how this looks. I had a Goodwill find that had this little burlap flower on it, and I took it off. I figured I'd save it, and guess what? It's perfect for this DIY. I'm just going to hot glue it right to the center, and literally that really makes this one so cute. Now I'm going to take a little bit of craft paper to cover up that back area because I don't want you to see any of my styrofoam or any of the mess. I'm just going to hot glue it and trim the edges, and then I'm going to make a little hanger out of jute cord, and this one's done. And you guys, I love it. I think it's so cute. You could hang it and be like sitting on a shelf, whatever you want, just like bringing a little bit of outdoors indoors, and it's just so cute in farmhouse. I hope you guys like it. Let me know. Block hack. I'm only going to use 4 of the blocks, and I took my miter shears, it was off camera unfortunately, and I sliced 3 of them in half, and it was so easy to do with those. Now I'm going to take the full one and I'm going to trace it on some scrapbook paper, all 4 of the sides, and I'm going to do that with the other pieces too off camera. What I want to do is get a bunch of cute little pieces of scrapbook paper, and I'm going to Mod Podge them right to the little wood blocks, the regular size one and the little ones. Now once I get all the sides on, I'm going to sand around the edges to make sure there's no pieces hanging over, and then I'm going to paint some white on each end of the blocks. And I should have done that first, so with the other ones I did do that first, but on this one I'm just painting it after because I thought about doing it after I had already started the scrapbook paper. And now that I've got all the ends painted and all of the little pieces of the scrapbook paper Mod Podged on there, I found these jot markers. They have one side's a fine line, one side's a broad line, and that was really great because it's much more fine tip. And I'm going to do some eyes and a little mouth. Just draw it right on the big block, the regular size block. And then I'm going to take the red marker with the broad side, and I'm just going to make some rosy cheeks on each side. I just thought that would be super cute. We're making a little firefly. And then I've got a paper clip. I'm going to use my little snips and kind of make it get into the shape of what looks like antenna. So I'm just going to take one and, pull each end in, and then I will snip right in the middle because with those little snips, it's very easy to do. And then I'm going to take a little cup hook that I have, and I'm just going to twist it 2 holes into the top of that big block, and then pull that out, and then put some hot glue in the holes and stick my little paper clip antenna right in there. It was super easy. Those tumbling tower blocks are super soft. They cut very easily. I was surprised actually. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue, and I'm going to put the little pieces that are the wings. I'm going to put some glue on the ends there and then set the middle piece on top, and then I'll turn it over and do the same thing with the other 3 pieces of the wing, kind of the matching pieces. And that's it. This was so easy. You could do these in all different colors. You could paint them. You could use napkins to decoupage. Honestly, there's a lot of possibilities with this, and I think it's really adorable. The back looked a little unfinished, so I took another little piece of scrap of paper. I roughed up the edges with my little scissors, and then I just glued it right over the back where the pieces meet, and it kind of gave it a more finished look. And that's really all it took. So cute.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will follow. You woke me up, I no longer feel.
Teen tumbling tower blocks and this adorable metal happy sign, which is attached to a little piece of wood, and that's from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take my blocks. I want to make that base longer because we're going to attach something to it. So I'm going to use 6 of the blocks to make more of that stand, if you will. Then I'm going to make a hashtag out of the rest of them. And you'll just see me kind of playing with it until I get it exactly the way I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and start attaching the base pieces to each other. So I'll do each set of 2, and then I'll put the sets of 2 together.
Think about you more than ever. I guess I'm lonely. I'm starting to grow old.
And you can see how it just kind of extends that other base. Now I'm going to attach the pieces of the hashtag. So first I will make the inner square, and I'm going to put them like inside of each other, if you notice, like so that they overlap. That's how I like to make little squares. They just come out nice and even that way.
And I thought my youth would last forever. Take me back.
Then I'm going to add each of the pieces all around the 4 sides. There's 2 on each of the 4 sides to create the hashtag. Or for some people, the pound sign, whatever you remember.
Back to when we were kids and didn't care if we were acting stupid, 'cause all we had was.
I'm going to take a screwdriver and I'm going to unscrew the little metal happy sign because I want to paint the base. I'm going to use my Agave chalk paint by Waverly. I'm going to paint the entire base and that other piece that is going to extend the base where it has the 6 blocks.
If I close my eyes.
Now I'm going to take my mister, I'm going to mist the hashtag, and I'm going to start off whitewashing it with my Rust-Oleum Linen White chalk paint. And then I'll do both sides. And then I'm going to take the agave and I'm going to whitewash over that. I just love that look. I think it's so pretty. I'm going to attach the happy sign back to the base by just screwing in the little screws. And then I'm going to attach the base to the base of the happy sign.
Honestly, I don't have no time to waste. I'm trying to come back to you because.
And the last thing I will do is attach the hashtag to the extended base.
Now I see we were meant to be.
And this is just going to say hashtag happy. And I think it came out so cute. You'll have to let me know what you think. I've never seen anything like it, so maybe it's an original. You never know. And I've always wanted to make it, so I'm going to do that today. It takes 70 of the tumbling tower blocks total. We use tacky glue and hot glue, and we're going to start with 2 rows of 8. We're going to attach them with tacky glue and hot glue on the short sides, and I'm going to do the 2 rows. There they are. I'm going to sand them down a little just to get rid of any excess glue that might have seeped through. And then I'm going to take 4 more blocks and put one on each side of, well, on one side of each of those longer pieces. This is the roof for the windmill. Now I'm going to take 6 of the little blocks and I'm going to kind of create, I guess that would be what, a hexagon? Oh my gosh, I'm not sure, whatever 6 is. And then I'm going to stagger blocks around wherever there's like an intersection. And I'm going to use the tacky glue and the hot glue and I'm going to start gluing them together, just starting with the second row because that'll attach it. You can see what I've done there. And now I'm just going to keep going. And you can make this as tall as you want. Since I use 70 blocks, that's how many, I use for the roof and that. So I got like 4 or 5 rows, I believe it is. Now we're going to attach the roof, but first we need to make 2 pieces that it can attach to. So I'm going to take my miter shears from Amazon. And by the way, all the tools that I mentioned that I have from Amazon or supplies are always down in my Amazon store, down in the description box in case you are looking for something like that. I'm going to take a pencil and just draw a quick diagonal line, use the miter shears at the angle that I need, and I'm going to just clip off that corner on 4 of the pieces. It's not really a corner, it's actually like half of an edge. And then I will hot glue 2 together so that it looks like it's pointed at the top, and of course tacky glue. And then I'm going to add 2 more pieces to the bottom of each one because I want to make it a little bit taller. The roof just wouldn't have sat quite right. You wouldn't be able to see anything inside of it. So now I'm going to attach those 4 pieces, one to either side. I'm going to add some extra hot glue on the inside just for extra security. Then I'm going to take the tacky glue and the hot glue, and I'm going to put one side of the roof on at a time and just hold it till the hot glue sets up. This tacky glue, by the way, works almost as good as wood glue, so it just makes sense, but it does dry a teeny bit faster and it makes it easier to keep working. Of course, so does the hot glue. So there it is, and I'm going to go around with the hot glue and just reinforce any seam that I'm concerned about and get rid of my glue webs. You can put a bottom in it if you want, but I decided not to. I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm going to water down the top of the roof, and then I'm just going to kind of whitewash the paint. Not a light whitewash, but a little darker than that. Then I'm going to use my color Ocean and lacquer from Waverly, and I'm going to start doing red, white, and blue. I'm not going to do the inside because you're not going to see that too much. I'm going to cover the whole thing with polyurethane and put some florals. I love this one. What do you think? I'm going to take 30 blocks total, 3 groups of 10 blocks, and then 3 stars from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to put my tacky glue and my hot glue and attach each side of 5 to each other and then the whole thing together. I'm going to do that 3 times because I'm making 3 of these squares. I'm also going to add some extra glue on the back side and just like really reinforce those seams, and then I'll just kind of rub it in with my finger. And that does come off super easy with a baby wipe. There they are, all 3 of them. This is going to be a very rustic kind of 4th of July DIY. I'm going to put some tape under each of the stars and tape them down to my paper so I can paint them without them moving around. I'm going to use the lacquer color, the Rust-Oleum linen white, and the ocean blue. And I'm going to do those same 3 colors on each of the squares. Now I am going to distress them by sanding them, so I'm not too worried about the coverage. Once they're dry, I will take my sanding block and I'm just going to go around all the edges and then try to get a bunch in the center. I just really want it to look distressed. Of course, I cleaned them off. I'm going to hot glue different color stars on each one so that, of course, it's not the same color star as it is square. I'm really loving the way this one is already turning out. I am going to take a nail file and just dull the little stars a little bit too. I've got this scrap piece of burlap. You can see I put some paint on it, but I'm going to cover that up. I'm just going to hot glue each one right to it, and this is going to be how they hang together. Just put a little space between each one. And yes, it did come right up off my desk easy, and I just kind of rubbed away the hot glue before it dried. Now I'm going to put another tumbling tower block in the center of each one because I just want to secure it just a little bit more. And also that way when it hangs, you know, it'll have a nice way to hang on the wall. I need a place to put my little hanger. I'm going to trim the top and the bottom because it was just a little too long there. I only want a little bit of the burlap showing through. And then I've got a little sawtooth hanger that I got on Amazon, and that was another reason I used those tumbling tower blocks on the back.
But if I focus on my mindset, I know it's gonna be alright.
And I love how this one turned out so easy. You'll have to let me know if you would try something like this. I saw a picture on Pinterest that really inspired me, so I'm going to take the tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree. I'll use 15 to form the shape of a cross. I'm using my Arteza paint markers, and I am going to do 6 of them in blue, and I'm only going to paint the sides that we're going to see. I'll paint 4 of the blocks red, and then I'm going to leave the rest and stain those with the antique wax from Waverly. I'm going to apply the wax with a dry cloth so I only get a small amount on there. And then I'm going to take my heat tool and I'm going to dry everything off and make sure that it is not getting all over my hands so that I can hot glue the pieces together. I'm going to use my white Arteza paint marker, and I'm just going to make little stars. They're just really basic little stars. And because this is meant to be a rustic piece, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I am going to add a second coat because they just got absorbed right into that wood, and I wanted them to stand out just a little bit more. Now I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to start assembling my cross. And you'll see the pattern here. The stars will be to the left, and then the red and the stained pieces will be down the middle and to the right, like a flag. Now I'm just using hot glue, which is probably not the very best choice if you want something to last for a long time. So I would suggest wood glue or something very permanent if you are really concerned about this thing breaking. I'm going to be mounting it on a sign, and so I feel pretty good about that. But I just want to mention that if you were doing it all alone, I wouldn't just use hot glue for this. I have this super cute tin sign from the Dollar Tree, and it's got those kind of corrugated bends in it. And I'm going to leave the other side the way it was, and I'm going to put this on the back. That way I'll have a two-sided sign. I'm going to take my sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to start distressing my cross over the paint. I want to dull it down and make it look older. I'm also going to use the antique wax by Waverly and a little sponge, and I'm going to start dabbing that on as well to help age the look of this cross. I'm going to take my hot glue and I'm going to attach that cross right to the back of the sign, and feel free, like I said, to use something even more secure than hot glue. And then I'm doing a little reinforcement on the other side, and I don't want that plain wood sitting there, so I'm going to take my silver Arteza paint marker and I'm going to color that in so it kind of matches with the sign. And then I thought, well, this sign doesn't look as old and distressed or rustic, so I'm going to take that silver, I'm going to go around the edges, and then I'm going to put some on a paper towel and kind of rub it across the red and the blue just to give it a little bit of an older, worn look, as if some of that paint was scratched off. I'm going to remove the little jute twine hanger because I want to add some more aging or distressing to the sign. I'm going to take a little bit of my white Kills primer paint and I'm just going to super lightly dry brush over all of the tin, and that's making it look older, and I really like that. And then I decided I think I'm going to do that over the cross because it looked so good on the tin that I wanted to add that same look to the cross itself. So I'm going to go ahead and dry brush the cross, wipe it off with a paper towel, and it's really starting to get that aged look that I like, and I love it. And for anyone who isn't familiar with dry brushing, you just put a little teeny bit of paint on your brush, wipe most of it off, and then drag it across the surface. And you just go back and forth until you get the look you want. You can wipe off the excess, you can add more, whatever you want. And then I'm going to come back in with the antique wax by Waverly and just make it look a little bit older and dirtier. And I think the combination of the white and the wax really, really created this rustic look that I was going for, and I'm super happy with it. I'm going to add back the little jute twine hanger, and this one's done. I love the way it turned out. I love that it's a two-sided sign, and I hope you guys really like it. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I think this would be a very easy project to do. Why I've got 48 blocks. I've got some sisal rope, and I've got this like gutter guard stuff from, I think it was Lowe's. It was on sale for 99 cents, so I grabbed some of it. Looks like fake chicken wire. I'm going to take 14 blocks to make one of these little panels, and you need 4 of them. And so here I'm going to show you how I assemble it with the hot glue and the tacky glue. I'm going to do the 3 pieces across the top first. Then I will do the 3 pieces on the bottom the same exact way, and then I'll do the 3 pieces on each side. And now I'm going to take one of the sides and I'm going to just put it on the edges, the glue on the edges, and then attach one set of 3 to the bottom and one to the top, and then I will fit the last one at the very end just the same way. So there is one of my panels, and I will make 4 of those total. There they are. Now we're just going to hot glue them and tacky glue them together the exact same way, just bigger pieces. So you'll see here a lot more dots. I try to reinforce wherever I can. I just find that this really, when I used to make this with only glue or only hot glue, it just always fell apart. So to do both seems like it works the best for me. So I'm just going to put them all together, like first the 2s and then the whole entire thing. So now we're doing the 2 bigger pieces. And that will do it for this one once I get that attached. So easy, you guys. Once you kind of get the hang of it, I mean, obviously there's a little bit of a learning curve to figure out what works the best, but I feel like this does for me, and you might find a different way works best for you. So there you go. Now I'm going to cut up some little pieces of like old paint stir sticks and scrap wood and just put it all over the back to secure all of the seams. I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum chalked linen white paint, and I'm going to do a nice coat on there. It's not perfect, but on the sides as well. I'm going to take the gutter guard and I'm going to cut it. You cut with scissors, and I'm going to cut it just to the edges of the window so that it will cover those holes. And if I have any excess, I can trim it off, but I'm going to use my little heavy duty stapler, and I'm just going to put that in. And the reason I use a stapler is you need something a little wider to get those little pieces of what I'm going to call like chicken wire down. I got the sisal rope, and I'm just going to measure out a piece that will go across vertically and one that will go across horizontally. I'm going to hot glue it in the middle, hot glue it on each end, do the same thing with the one going the other direction, and then I'll turn it over and I will staple the rest of those pieces down. I've got a couple of fall leaves and some little berry picks that are very fall-like, and I'm going to add them to the center. And this is like the cutest little window, like bulletin board, and you could change out the middle and put something else for another time of the year. I love this one. I think it's my favorite. You guys will have to let me know what you think. I love the way it looks. It's so farmhouse, but it still feels very fresh. This is really even a DIY. I've got these different calendars from the Dollar Tree, and if you look on the back, you will see there will be something for all the different times of the year, and I'm looking for the fall looking ones. So I'm going to take my blocks, and it's going to take 5 for each block, so that's 20 blocks total, and I'm going to hot glue 3 of them together, and then I'm going to take one and put it on the top and one on the bottom, as you can see I'm doing right here using the hot glue and the tacky glue. And literally that assembles one of these little, by the way, they're refrigerator magnets. I'm going to use the pumpkin and the maize color. I'm going to paint 2 of them with the pumpkin and 2 of them with the maize. And I'm not even going to do a heavy coat, just a kind of a heavy dry brush. And then I'll dry them off with my heat tool from Amazon. And then I've cut out those little pictures that I liked for the 4 magnets. And so they will fit pretty much on there. I will have to sand the edges in a minute. But I'm literally going to take some Mod Podge and I'm going to put it down on each of the magnets. And then I'm going to place the little cutout from the calendar. And I do put it on the whole magnet because I do want to seal it in, for sure. And I always do that with my Jenga block projects. So I'm going to set it right on top there. I'm going to do that with all 4 of them. Like I said, this is so easy. And this would even be fun to do with your kids or grandkids because it's an easy one. And then they can have it, put it up on something that's magnetic, whether it's the fridge or something else, their locker, if they like things like this. You also don't have to make them orange and yellow. You can make them any color you want because the little pictures are very fall-like. I just decided to go with this because I do like those colors in the fall. They're very traditional. got a brayer here. Got that on Amazon. It's in my Amazon store too if you need it. I'm going to take some saran wrap and just go across it with the brayer to make sure it contacts that wood from every part of the little piece of calendar picture, and that just helps get rid of any bubbles. Now these are thicker pages, so they usually don't get bubbles, but sometimes they lift up. I'm going to take a little nail file. I'm going to go around those edges in a downward motion and just get off the excess paper. I just like the way it looks. It gives it more of a natural look, and it looks like it's almost part of the wood when you do this. I'll do that on all 4 of them wherever there's a little excess.
I remember you. I've been thinking about you more than ever.
I've got these magnets that I also got on Amazon. They're stickers. Of course, I'm not going to trust the sticker. I'll put a little bit of hot glue and then put the sticker side down, and bam, there we have a magnet. I'll do that to all 4. So easy, so quick, and what a cute little DIY. I hope you like it. Easy DIY, and I've got 10 blocks to make each of these pumpkins. So I'm going to start off with 3, and I'll put one sideways, one the other way, and then another one sideways, so you can see what I'm doing right there. I'm going to make 2 just like that. And then I'm going to put some in the middle. Now I do realize I need 2 in the middle, so I do add 2 more coming up here. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my tacky glue and hot glue and put my little dots on there. And then I'm going to start attaching each of these sets of 3. See how I'm doing one way, one the other, and then I do the same on the end with the first one. And then I do the same thing to the other one. And now I'm going to attach that other block that's going to go kind of in the middle. You see how I just kind of put that sticking out a little bit? Do the same thing to the other side. I love these easy DIYs with the Jenga blocks. They're so cute. And then I see here, oh, that looks too thin. So now I'm going to add 2 more blocks in the center. And I think that really does the trick. I guess when I first started, I wasn't thinking how small it would really be. So now I'm just going to add those 2 extra blocks to the ones that are in the middle, and they're not going to stick out. They're going to be exactly in line with the 2 that are already there. And then I take the other set of 3 and I can attach it right there. Just put it on the 2 ends, and that way it'll touch perfectly with the other blocks even though they're staggered. And there you go. Isn't that the cutest little pumpkin? I'm going to make another one of those the exact same way. I'm going to take my pumpkin chalk paint from Waverly, and I'm just going to roughly paint all around the top and sides, and then I'll take the maze and do some dry brushing all around it. They look adorable as they are, but I did decide to put a little bit of antique wax on them too, just because, you know, give it that little rustic feel, and I love that.
Remember me, I remember you. I've been thinking about you more than ever.
So there they are. Aren't they adorable? These would look so cute on a tier tray. I'm going to take these little pieces of wood branches that are chopped up from the Dollar Tree and find 2 that are big enough to cover that hole on the top. And once I realize that it will, those will be the ones I choose. And then I'll take my hot glue. I'm just going to go around the edges. And I feel like this is enough for this. And it does hold really, really well. I'll do the same thing to the other one. And would you believe that's it? You could add leaves if you want or any tendrils, but I thought these are so stinking cute. And like I said, I think they would look great on a tier tray or in a vignette. I absolutely love them. You'll have to let me know what you think. And again, this is a very easy Jenga block DIY. You're going to need 49 of the tumbling tower blocks, and then I've got this beautiful napkin from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to do 2 rows of 12, which makes 24, and then 3 blocks across the top, and then I'm going to do 6 blocks on the bottom for the stand and 8 blocks on each side just to kind of frame around it. I'm putting it together just so you can see. Now I'm going to take my tacky glue and I'm going to take my hot glue, and I like to make little dots and alternate and put each piece together. I'm going to do that for all of those blocks that were in the center. So now I've got 12 little sets of 2, and I'm going to start gluing them together, doing the exact same thing with the dots of hot glue and tacky glue. That seems to work the best for me. At least that's what I feel like stays the best. And there it is, nice solid piece. Now I'm going to add the 3 pieces together that go across the top. And now I'm doing the 2 sets of 3 that are going to go on the bottom for the stand. And you'll see that I'm laying them down next to each other. I want it to be wider than the top piece so I can set it on top of that. Now we're going to do the side pieces, and I'm only going to put the glue like on the bottom half as I put it up against the side. Now one thing to note, Jenga blocks from the Dollar Tree are not all the same size, so I ended up with a little gap, and you can see I'm pointing it out right there. I'm going to take some cardboard, just cut up little squares of it and fill in that gap, and once it's painted, you hope you won't see it. Anyway, I'm putting the glue on the bottom, or the top, excuse me, to add the top piece, and then I'm going to see exactly how I'm going to set it on the stand, and I'm going to add the glue there and attach it the same way. And then you'll see the gaps where I've filled it with the cardboard in just a second here. See, there you go. I just cut up little pieces. One side needed 4 little pieces, one side had 1. Now I'm going to take my Maze Antique Wax and Pumpkin colors by Waverly, paint the whole thing very heavy dry brush with the orange, and then I'm going to dry brush the maze on there. I'm going to take my napkin, it is a 2-ply, and if you add a little piece of tape to the back, it makes pulling it apart so much easier. So I did that, and then I'm going to take a wet paintbrush, like a little art brush, and just go around the edges of the design. That way I get a nicer look when it's decoupaged instead of like cutting it out, which is a very crisp look. I want it to kind of blend in. So I'm using my Mod Podge, laying it down, and then putting some over the top. And then I'm going to take the antique wax and I'm just going to go around the edges and just kind of dry brush a little just to give it a little more, depth. I've got this little pick from Dollar Tree. They're like cattails, I think, in these little yellowish leaves. And I'm just going to do a little formation of them on the very bottom where the stand is, just to give it some more interest. And I love how this turned out. You will have to let me know what you think. It's very rustic. My husband loves it. No shock there, right? Let me know what you think. Going to be, a 2-part kind of a DIY, because I've got one thankful picture that I'm making and then 3 little owl signs. So what I've done is I found a really cute thankful napkin from the Dollar Tree, and I decided to Mod Podge it onto foam board and create a frame out of the dark tumbling tower blocks that you get at Dollar Tree. So all I'm doing right now is figuring out about how large I need to make that frame, and then I'm going to start gluing the pieces together with hot glue, and I'm using my square to try to keep everything straight. I'm going to reinforce every connection of those tumbling tower blocks with some hot glue and then kind of press it down a little bit so that it seeps in. Just want to make sure that they stay together, because sometimes they do come apart if you don't use like wood glue or E6000, and I didn't do that. And now I am just cutting out my foam board. I used some scrap foam board that I had left over from another project, so I don't waste anything. And now I'm putting the Mod Podge on there so that I can attach the napkin. Now I cut the napkin and I used another piece of the napkin so I could get that little border that's on the bottom also on the top. So you'll see I have another little piece that I cut. And so I'm going to attach that, and I just like the way that looks with the design on the top and the bottom. Kind of makes it a little more festive. And then a trick that I learned is to use some saran wrap over the top, and I'm using a brayer, but you could use your fingers. That way you don't get, it doesn't get sticky and the napkin doesn't come up. Especially with napkins and tissue paper, you have to be super careful. And I did separate the plies, so you want to make sure that you're only using the top part. If it says 1 ply, that means there's a piece to remove. If it said 2 ply, there's 2 pieces to remove. Just a little rule of thumb there. And now I'm sealing it with the Mod Podge on top as well. While that's drying, I'm going to figure out how I'm going to make the 3 little owl pictures that I have. So I'm measuring with my blocks to see what will be the right size, the number of blocks, just like I did with the other one. And then I'm going to cut accordingly and get my foam board ready and Mod Podge it to the foam board, just like I did with the last one. And as always, if I have a little mess, I pull out my little Ladybug desktop vacuum and clean it up. That thing is so cute. I just love using it. And now for the fun part. I love embellishing things, and so I'm adding some colorful leaves. I'll be adding a little bit of twine because twine looks good on just about everything, right? And some lace, so just sit back and watch and enjoy. This part is so fun. And of course, there's always like a little bit of foam board that ends up hanging over the frame. So I just got out my straight edge and my cutting board and just went ahead and trimmed that off. And what would a farmhouse project be without some wood beads? So I decided to add a wood bead in the center of each of my little twine kind of spirals there. Yeah, almost like a flower. And I painted them and distressed them and then hot glued them right into the center. I am so happy how these turned out. They are just so cute. You know, you could style these on a tiered tray. You could put them in different places. I just kind of put them together to show you, but you guys, I love them. Oh my gosh, so easy.
Tower block hack, I need 36 blocks, and I'm going to make them in little sets of 3 going in alternating directions and 2 rows of them. And then I've got this metal thankful sign from the Dollar Tree and this really big nautical rope. I'm just going to use the wood glue finally. I should have done that all along, but I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to glue each set of 3 pieces together. Now, once I have all of my little 3 pieces together, there's going to be 12 then. I'm going to glue together the pieces one on top of each other, and then when I'm done with that, I'll glue the pieces across the middle. So I'm just going to make sure that really every part is glued together when it's all said and done.
Explore every bend of the road.
So there I've got my piece with all 36 of the little pieces. I'm going to take some wood glue and fill in any parts that didn't fill in really well and sand that off as best as I can. And then I'm going to paint the whole thing with the Rust-Oleum linen white paint. And I'm not going to do a perfect job because I'm going to take a baby wipe and wipe off a lot of the paint. I want that to be how I distress it. But then I decided that I should probably distress it a little more. But first I'm going to lay down some Mod Podge over the whole thing. I just want to seal it. And then I'm going to, with some hot glue, attach my thankful word over the top. It doesn't take too much, and the Mod Podge is still wet, so I kind of use that as a little extra adhesive as well. So now I'm going to take the burnt umber and I'm just going to go all the way around the edges with a brush, like dry brushing, where you put just a little bit on your brush and then wipe most of it off. And I'm going to do that over the top too, and I just thought that made it look a little bit more even, more consistently distressed. And then I'm also going to take that color and I'm going to go around the edges. Now, I didn't really have to because I'm going to be putting rope all around it to create a hanger, but I decided just in case any little part showed, I would just paint that, and I kind of wiped off any excess off camera. I also forgot to film me hot gluing the rope all the way around and making a hanger, and that's all there was to it, and you'll have to let me know what you think.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will follow. You woke me up, I no longer
Got these bamboo rings from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 3 of the smaller ones for this one. I've got that brass napkin holder from Hobby Lobby, and I've got these tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. I've also got these pit berries from Hobby Lobby. They were all on sale. And then I have just a bunch of raffia that I bundled up. I'm going to take my pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly. I'm going to paint all 3 of these hoops and cover them completely. Then I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm just going to kind of heavily dry brush. There you go, you can see, so the orange is peeking through. And then I'm going to paint the 2 tumbling tower blocks in the white. I just want to make sure that I get all the painting done and out of the way, and then I can clean that all up and move on to the rest. I don't know about you guys, but I make a mess. I'm going to take these little hoops and I'm going to put one inside of each other, kind of perpendicular. And then I'm going to hot glue it. I'll slide it over a teeny bit and then put the hot glue and then slide it back. I'll do it to both sides. Then I'm going to take the third one and at another angle in between them, I'm going to basically do the same thing and just slide them over and then put some hot glue and then slide it right on top of the hot glue on both sides. That way it'll stay in place and it won't move around. It's pretty firm even without the glue, but I didn't want to take any chances. Next, I'm going to take the 2 tower tumbling blocks. I'm going to hot glue them to the bottom, and the reason I'm doing that is it won't stand up without it. It still didn't stand up really well. I had to make some adjustments, but anyway, that's something you won't know until you're doing it, but it's an easy fix. Next, I'm going to hot glue that little brass napkin holder on top, kind of to the side a little bit. So you'll see I'm only putting the glue on 3 of the pieces on the top. So I want it to angle a little bit, and that's going to be our pumpkin stem. Then I'm going to take the pit berries, and I'm just going to wrap them around. I'm going to take a long piece and wrap one side around the finger and then go to the other side and wrap it around. And that way I'll just have one long piece and a little flat area for the middle. And I'm going to hot glue that to the top, and that'll be the pumpkin's tendrils. I always think that's such a cute look. Then I trimmed my little raffia bundle, and I'm going to hot glue it right below the stem. And then I cut up a bunch of the pieces of the raffia. I'm just gonna stick them right in that stem just to kind of fill it in. And then I've got this cute little kind of orangey ribbon. I'm gonna wrap it around some fingers and then take the end pieces and wrap them around the center and hot glue it and make a cute little bow that does not have tails. Just gonna hot glue that right in the middle of the raffia. I've got these teeny little sunflowers. I'm gonna put 3 of them on there. Actually 2 of them, and then I'm gonna put some other berries from another pick, which got some styrofoam ripped off. So I just used a little black marker to color that in. It's in the back, you probably won't see it. I've got this cute little votive glass container, and I'm putting some stickers. It's like double-sided stickers that I have. And I'm gonna put that in the bottom, and that way I can get it to set, more permanently, if you will, in the middle of this kind of pumpkin votive. And I think this is so cute with the light on. It's just adorable. The only thing is I do want to put some leaves at the very bottom. I just think that kind of dresses it up and it covers the stand a little bit. And I really feel like that finishes this off. You have to let me know what you think. This one is my favorite, I think, of all of them, but you'll have to let me know which one is yours.
Science, and I just think they're so cute, so I wanted to try my hand at it as well. For this project, I used one of the little teeny palettes from the Dollar Tree, and I bought the little clip-on pumpkins that came 3 in a pack. I'm just using actually a half of one of those, and then I found some cards that said hello and my Mod Podge and my Waverly wax paint in antique. Using a pointy little blade tool, I cut out the word hello. I decided on the positioning for how I was going to put that on the palette, and then I took off the little clip on the bottom of the pumpkin, and I also removed the stem from the top. It comes off really easy. And then I used my blade and I cut the pumpkin in half. I decided where I was going to end up attaching the pumpkin, and then I removed the sign of the pumpkin and I used my Waverly Antique wax to go ahead and cover the entire little mini palette so that it would look, like a nice piece of stained wood. I used the Mod Podge first on the palette, and then I put the sign hello on there, and then I got my metallic rose gold paint from Folklore and I painted the words hello. It took about 2 or 3 coats to really cover, and then I Mod Podged over the entire thing to seal it. I used my hot glue gun to attach the little pumpkin, and then with a brown Arteza paint pen I painted on a little stem. And then I took 4 of the tower tumbling blocks from Dollar Tree, and I decided to attach those to make a little stand. And then I took my black chalk paint, colored ink, and I went ahead and painted the top of those so that it would just give it a little more of a kind of a fall October-y look. I think it came out super cute. I wish that maybe the letters had been a teeny bit smaller so that the pumpkin wouldn't be so large on it. But honestly, up on top of my coffee bar there, it looks super cute and I really like it. I've got to learn how to do that lettering myself. It would be much easier than cutting it out.
Just going to make a cute little top hat, like a snowman's hat. So we've got 6 blocks. So I'm going to take the 2 towards the bottom with my Aleene's glue and my hot glue, and I'm going to make the brim of the hat. And then I'm going to take 3 of the pieces that are the very top of the hat. And I'm going to put those together, and then I'm going to add 1 across the bottom just to give it a little more height. So you see there, I've got those 4 pieces. Now I'm going to attach them right on to the flat side of the brim. That was how easy that was to assemble. Super easy. Now I'm going to take my black chalkboard paint. I'm going to paint the entire hat, all sides, everything. I've got this cute little snowflake ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off a piece and I'm going to hot glue it right down. And then I'm going to take some little pieces of like frosted pick or glitter picks, whatever, and I'm going to attach those as well. So first goes the ribbon, attach it in the front and in the back. This would be such a fun one to do with your grandkids, your kids, whatever. So easy. And then I'm going to start adding the little pick piece and the berries. I mean, literally, how cute is this? So fast and easy. This one took me, other than the paint drying, like 5 minutes. And then I've got these cute little eye hooks, and I'm going to screw it in the top. You can also use a pokey tool and start a hole, whatever works. My hands aren't that good for screwing things in like this, so it was a little hard, but you don't have to. You could just glue on a hanger. But I did add twine inside of that, and there it is. So easy and so adorable.
easy project. I've got 15 of the blocks and I'm going to have them in sets of 3 going the same direction. I'm going to use my combination of tacky glue and hot glue and put each of those sets of 3 together. I like to work in small pieces and then kind of assemble from there. So I'm going to line them up and put the one set of 3 on top of another set of 3 with the tacky glue and the hot glue all over that. And there you go. And then I'm just going to continue and glue all of the other ones the same way till it becomes a large block. And this is the last one that I'm adding on. And then I just kind of hold it around the sides, rub off any excess, and make sure they're as lined up as possible, which is not always easy because not all blocks are created the same. I'm going to paint this entire block in the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. It takes 2 coats. I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to draw a little snowman face, and this is just a very basic snowman face. I actually didn't have to look this one up because it's pretty traditional. Then I will take my black chalk paint and my very fine art brush and I will fill in the eyes, and then I will fill in the mouth with just little dots. You do not have to be a painter to do this. Then I'm going to take that pumpkin chalk paint by Waverly and I'm going to color in his nose. And would you believe that's it? This would be perfect for a tiered tray. You could set this anywhere. It's adorable. Can you imagine if you had people over making little place cards, make one of these for everyone and put their name on it? It would be so cute. Block DIY, I have got 8 blocks and I'm going to shape them into what looks like kind of a rectangle or a picture frame. So I'll put every set of 2 together using my combination of tacky glue and hot glue. And then once I have all the 2s put together, I'm going to assemble it into this frame. So I'll have the 2 on the sides that are vertical, and then the horizontal ones I'll place on the inside. So I'm just doing that same glue pattern of dots. It works for me the best of anything I've ever tried before. Feel free to do it any way you like. This is just trial and error for me. I've made so many of these things out of these blocks and tried all kinds of things, and this just seems to work. So once I finish assembling my little box, or rectangle, which is actually going to be a frame, this is going to be an ornament. I'm going to take the antique wax and I'm going to show you several different ways you can use it. So this first way, I'm just going to paint it on and leave it just like that. And it looks really dark and beautiful. And I've got this cute little couple that's caroling. I got in a grab box from Michael's a year or 2 ago. I'm going to take a little bit of evergreen pick and put it up at the top. I also put a little hanger on it with some jute. I'm going to cut off some little berries off of a pick. I'm just going to glue them right to the center of those picks that make it look like a little swag now. I'm going to cut off that little excess of the hanger, and I'm going to take that little caroling couple, put a bunch of hot glue on the inside of the frame, and stand them right in there. I'll center them in there, and isn't this adorable? This might be one of my favorites today. I really like it. You will have to let me know what you think. So easy. And then I have 7 of the tumbling tower blocks. And we're going to make a little snowman with a top hat. So I'm going to use that combination of my tacky glue. You can use wood glue and hot glue. I put little dots and then start assembling the pieces. I'm going to put 3 together for the face of the snowman. Then I'm going to put 2 together for the very top of the hat. And I'm going to put the other 2 on their sides and just put the 2 ends together, doing the same thing with the dots of glue, both kinds of glue. Now I'm going to assemble them. I'm going to put the head onto the brim of the hat. You see how I'm putting that the other direction for the brim. And then I'll take the top of the hat and set that back the other way on the very top of the hat. And it's so cute and so easy to assemble. I'm going to paint the head, front, back, and sides with the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I'm going to take a pencil. I'm going to draw the eyes, nose, and mouth of the snowman. And I'm just looking at a picture to come up with what snowman face I want to make. And then I'm going to take a fine art brush and some black chalkboard paint and just paint in the eyes and the mouth. I will use my pumpkin chalk paint from Waverly to paint in the nose. He is turning out so cute. Now I'm going to embellish his hat a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit of a piece of greenery from a pick or a couple little pieces. I'm going to wrap some jute twine around 2 fingers about 15 times, and then I will take the remaining string and wrap it around the middle and kind of make what looks like a little bit of a bow. Once I get enough on there, I'm just going to hot glue it in place and then cut off the excess. Once I do that, I'm going to take my scissors and go right into those loops and cut them open on both sides, and then I'll fluff it just a little bit. I'm going to hot glue it right on the brim of his hat. Adorable. Now, off camera, I took a little bit of the white paint and I kind of flocked his hat so it looks like he's been snowed on. This is such a cute ornament, and of course, I added a jute hanger. Let me know what you think. We've got 13 blocks, and we're going to make a very small standing tree. It's like an evergreen or pine tree. We're going to start with the base. I'm going to use the tacky glue and hot glue combination, and I'm going to glue one block to another block laying flat, as you see me doing here. Then I'm going to start assembling the tree. And the way I'm going to do it is take them sideways and just keep building upon each other. So you see how the second one goes all the way to the top, then the next one on the left goes up to the top, and it kind of creates this little upside down V shape, which will be the entire body of the tree. And you can see it right here. If you need to freeze the screen, go ahead, take a screenshot, whatever makes it easier. Now, the tricky part is getting that stand to stay. So I loaded it up with the hot glue and the tacky glue, and it wasn't staying great. I had to kind of hold it for a while, and once it dried, I reinforced it with some more glue and then kind of scraped off the excess off camera. Now, I still wasn't 100% confident it would stay, so once I painted the trunk of the tree in the antique wax and the base of the actual tree in the fern color chalk paint by Waverly, I'm going to also paint the very base with that chalkboard black. I want to get all the painting done. Now, to secure it, I'm going to take some like bigger rope, if you will, and I'm going to hot glue it all up into that little, upside down V at the top there and wrap it around several times, cut off the excess, and then, tack it down. That gave it more stability, and I added a cute little gold and white twine bow, and that was it. So cute. You could add a hanger and hang it on a tree or just set it on a shelf. 12 1/4 blocks. Now, this is not a Christmas one. This is a little menorah for Hanukkah, for those who celebrate. So I've got my miter shears from Amazon. Very good if you have arthritis to cut little pieces of wood. So I just chopped what was already a piece of a Jenga block in half and then cut a little piece of it off to make the stand on the menorah. So menorah has 4 candles on each side, one in the middle that you light the rest with, and then of course the stand. So I'm going to take one of the Jenga blocks, lay it flat, and then put 4 upright on that piece. And I'll do the same thing with the second set of 5 that I have sitting there. And you'll see that right there. Then I'm going to put them together, attaching the very bottom. And of course I'm using tacky glue and hot glue as a combination with little dots, and you can use any glue that you like. This works best for me. I'm going to put some hot glue between those 2 in the middle, and then I'm going to set that middle candle or whatever right in the center just up a little bit so it's taller. I'm going to add that little teeny piece that I cut off to the middle of the bottom, and now I'm going to stand it all up on this one block, which has become the base. It's adorable. This is so cute. You could, stand it on a tier tray on a shelf, whatever you want. I'm going to take some metallic silver paint and then 2 different colors of blue acrylic paint. You can use anything you want. And I'm going to paint the whole base with the silver, like it's a, silver stand. There you go. Then I'm going to alternate every other candle with the different blues, and I'll start in the middle with the darker blue and then take the lighter blue. Often Hanukkah is celebrated with like blues, whites, and silvers, so that's what I'm doing here. Now it's all done. I wrote Happy Hanukkah, many spellings for that word, so don't think it's wrong. There's just more than one spelling. And then I'm going to put a little Star of David right in the center of the stand, and that kind of spruces it up, and it looks adorable. Now for the flames, I'm going to take this rope that you can find in the automotive section at Dollar Tree. It's yellow, of course, and I'm just going to cut little pieces. I'll put a little glue on the ends of each piece to make it stand up and be pointy. And look at that. Looks like little flames. How cute is this? So for those of you who celebrate Hanukkah, here is an awesome idea for you. You only have to use 5 blocks, and literally we're just going to glue them right next to each other. I mean, this one is so super easy. So I'm just going to use my combination of tacky glue and hot glue and put all of the 5 pieces together. And if you've noticed, I always wipe off the excess glue. I always have a little napkin nearby that I can, or paper towel, I can wipe it off. So here's another technique for using the antique wax. I spray it down with water from my mister, and then I paint the whole thing with the antique wax. And so that makes my wood surface wet. And this creates like a stain. So I wipe off the excess, and see how this one comes out lighter, and it's just another fun way. Now I've got this old ornament. I think it's from either Dollar Tree or Dollar General, and I just never used it. So I thought, I'm going to take that white Christmas tree off. And yes, it was a perfectly good ornament, and you don't have to take it apart, but you could cut out something on white cardboard. But I was willing to do that. So I glued it on with the hot glue, and I added 1 berry on top, and then I'm just going to add a little twine hanger to the back. I usually loop the twine and then tie a knot at the end and then glue it on. That's it. How easy is this? You could also write a name on it or a year, whatever you want. This is such an easy, it could be a cute little gift topper too. We're going to take 4 of the blocks, and we're going to take 3 of them and put them side by side with the hot glue and tacky glue combination. This is going to be a cute little sign like that you would see in the snow out in front of somebody's house or wherever at a, cute little, like the North Pole or something like that. Then we'll take the last one and put it at the bottom as the base of the sign. I'm going to paint the base of the sign in the linen white chalked paint by Rust-Oleum. And then I'm going to take a blue acrylic paint. I'm going to paint the front, back, and sides of the actual sign part itself. Now off camera, I guess I forgot to turn the camera on. I also did little red stripes around that handle just with some red paint. With a chalk marker from Dollar Tree, I'm going to write "Let It Snow," and I'll just go over those letters once, extra to go make them darker. And then I'm going to make a little snowflake also. Super, super easy. Doesn't even matter how neat you write. Then I'm going to take the snowflake ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut a piece. I'm going to tie it around the base of that sign and just tie a knot. And then I will take the ribbon and dovetail it, and just by, folding it down the middle, putting the pieces together, folding it down the middle, and then cutting from the open ends up towards the sign. And that's really cute. And there you go. That's it. And then I flocked it a little bit just to make it look like it was outside in the snow. And I added a hook so you could hang it. How cute is 19 blocks. And you can see here the different levels, it kind of adds by 2 every level. And I'm going to start with the bottom level, which had the most, and I'm going to use my combination of Aleene's tacky glue and hot glue. Again, any glue you want to use is just fine. I'm going to attach that whole row together. Then I'll do the other 2 rows, just like you see here. Now I'm going to add each of those rows to each other. So figure out where I need to put the glue based on the width of each of those levels, and then I will hot glue them together. You see how I did that right there? And I'll do the same thing to the next one and the top piece. And now I'm going to put some glue and attach that little trunk right to the bottom. And then I've got 2 other blocks. I'm going to put one under and one over the very bottom of that trunk and hot glue them, and that gives it a base that it can stand up with. So that worked out really nice as a way for me to be able to put this on a shelf when it's done or wherever. You could also add a hanger and turn it into an ornament, whatever you want. I'm going to paint the base with the antique wax for the trunk and the black for the bottom. And as you can see, it came apart because I was a little rough with it, so I'll glue it on at the end. And I painted the whole tree in that fern color by Waverly. Now I'm going to add a rather large evergreen pick and some large pick of the red berries, because this one's bigger and I wanted to give it a little more oomph. And then I have this cute little kind of burlap bow, and I'm just going to put it on there, and I'm going to flock the whole tree, the evergreen, the berries, everything. I thought that looked so pretty to do that. And this is just a cute little decor piece that I can put in my home for Christmas. Let me know what you think. We are going to take 5 blocks, and what we're going to do is take 3 of them and glue them with tacky glue and hot glue side by side. A little extra glue on there, so I'm going to wipe it off. It happens once in a while. Alrighty, so now that the 3 pieces are together, I'm going to take one and put it on the opposite direction on either side. You can see what I'm doing right there, and I'll do one right on the other side. Just creates a little bit of a different look. It kind of semi-frames it. Now we're going to use the antique wax on this one too, and this time we're going to paint it on. We're not going to add water, but we're going to take a paper towel and wipe it off. So again, showing you another way that you can stain it. And when you do it this way, it comes out even darker than the one with the water. So I'm going to take a little poinsettia pick that I got off one from Dollar Tree. I'm going to hot glue it to the center. And then I'm going to add a little twine hanger that I looped and tied a knot on the bottom and just put that right on the back. And this is such a cute little ornament. I'm going to cut a little pick of this kind of glittery evergreen, and I'm just going to hot glue that right to the top. And this one is done. Again, super easy. It would be a cute gift topper, a cute ornament for your tree, whatever you want to do. I love this one. Let me know what you think. I'm only going to use 3 blocks. I'm just going to put them together side by side with the tacky glue and hot glue combination. This one is, well, I say they're all easy, but this one is really, really easy. You know what I mean? I mean, they're just all easy. These are so great to do with your kids or grandkids, honestly, or if you're just looking for a quick project. So I'm going to take some red acrylic paint, use any red paint you want, and I'm going to paint the whole thing bottom, sides, back in red. Then I'm going to take some black chalk paint, and I'm just going to make like a line across the middle that's pretty thick. So I started in the center and then worked on both sides. And I'm going to do that all the way around. I'm going to dry it off with my heat tool from Amazon because I need to paint on it again. I want to make sure it's dry. I'm going to take some gold metallic paint. It's a paint I got at Walmart. And literally, I'm going to make like a belt buckle. This is Santa's jacket with his belt buckle. And I'm just going to go around, like in the middle, I'm going to make a square, and I'll do several coats to get it, the gold as bright as possible. And then I'm just going to put that little teeny piece in the center where it catches in the belt hole. Add a hanger, and that's it. How adorable is this? Oh my gosh, you could make a whole bunch of these and give them away. Put them on gifts, whatever you want to do. Tumbling Tower Block DIY, I'm going to use 20 of the blocks. Now, 8 of them are going to be the base, and the rest will be the tree. I'm going to use a combination of Aleene's tacky glue and hot glue. I love to do that. I put little dots of the tacky glue and then little dots of the hot glue in between. And then I just place the pieces together. So these are going to go side by side, and I'm going to do 4 pairs of 2. And then on the short sides, I will attach them together to make one long base with 8 of the blocks. Super easy. Now, people have asked me, why do you use both glues? Well, I do it because I've had it fall apart when I've just used the hot glue. And if I don't use the hot glue, then I can't keep working until the other glue dries. So that's my reason. You don't have to. For the rest of the tree, I'm going to start doing 2 different sides. And what I'm going to do is attach a second piece for each side, just less than halfway down the first piece and on the inside. So you see how I'm kind of measuring with the one I just did to try to get it about the same size. And so then I'm going to attach the next one, and then I kind of put them together. You see what I just did there? And I'm going to keep doing that till I have 6 on each side. You can do it as big or as small as you want. And there, I've done that. And see, this way I can keep working because I did the hot glue and the other glue. Now this is the tricky part, because you need to hold this in place while the hot glue dries for this one. So I put some hot glue where I want to place the first piece. I kind of dry fit it first to see. And now I'm going to put some on the bottom for the second one. I'll hold it there while it's drying, and then I will reinforce with some more glue all the way around it. You've got to hold this the whole time while it sets up. Once it's pretty well set, I'm going to put some glue in between the top 2 pieces to kind of attach them together, and then I'll also go back around again and put more glue on the bottom and on the top. And now it's got a pretty good hold. So I'm going to take my Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm going to paint the whole base that color. Isn't that pretty? Then I'm going to take my Fern Green by Waverly. I'm going to paint the tree, and I'm going to paint every part of the blocks that it's visible, including over the glue that's on there. That way you won't really notice it. Then I've got some really cute pics from Dollar Tree that had pine cones and these pretty kind of holly leaves. And I'm just going to put 1 set on each end, and then I'm going to put some more in the middle with some little berries that I think are just so cute. I love the little berries around Christmas time. I think they're so pretty and festive, and it just adds that little pop of red. I'm going to add a few little sprigs here of some winter picks, and then I'm going to finish this whole thing off by putting some of those cute little glitter berries on the very top of the tree. This was such an easy decor piece to do, and I just love using the Tumbling Tower blocks, and I know you guys too, because you've always asked me for more. So I hope this is one that you will want to try. I think it's very festive. These trees are very trendy right now. Let me know what you think. Block DIY, I'm going to need 10 of the blocks, and then I'm also going to use some of those little square blocks they have, and then I've got this canvas also from the Dollar Tree, and I picked it up mostly because I like to use the frames that are underneath them. So I've got this amazing staple remover. It's from Amazon, and it makes getting these heavy-duty staples out very easy. It's in my Amazon store down below in the description box if you're interested. I've got this other sign from Dollar Tree that I've had for a long time. I'm just going to pry off that extra cardboard and trace the outside of the frame on it. Then I'm going to take this blade that's also from Amazon. You can tell I use a lot of stuff from Amazon. And I'm just going to score those lines that I drew, and it comes off very easily. And now I've got my backing. And then I'm going to use the Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm just going to put that all the way around this frame. And then in the 4 corners, I'm going to add some hot glue. Now, I should have sanded down the front of this sign before I did this, but it's also possible to do it after because I did. I also removed the hanger from the back, which I will replace. So I've sanded it down, so just it's nice and flat now. I'm going to put back the little hanger, which is the kind that you hammer in, and then I'm going to trace a piece of scrapbook paper that looks like kind of wood shiplap. And I'm going to bend it on the inside just to gauge how big I need to cut it to come out with a size that's pretty close. Now, wouldn't you know that I must have tilted my scissors or something, so I had to add an extra piece to fill it in. That's okay. You mostly won't even notice it when I'm all done. Now I'm going to take my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and paint all of the frame. Then I'm going to take my Tumbling Tower blocks. I'm going to start creating a house shape. So 2 on each side of the top, 2 on each side of the bottom, and then I use the little block at the top to fill in that little kind of pointy part. I use 2 little blocks down inside the house, a flat block of the Jenga blocks, and then one I'm going to place kind of sticking out a like little bit, because that's going to be like in the nativity, that's going to be the little bed for baby Jesus. So now that they're placed, I'm going to hot glue each one down. And because I'm not gluing the blocks to each other per se, just to the backing of this picture, I can just use hot glue. I don't need to use a combination of both glues. It will stay just fine. I just love when I get to do DIYs that have to do with Jesus and the real reason for the season. And now I'm just going to add one more block on top of the little blocks just to give it a little height. And now we've got the little creche, and I think this is so pretty. Off camera, I took some of the Spanish moss and I kind of lined that little bed. I also took a Jenga block and a bead to create the baby Jesus, put a little burlap wrapped around him as his swaddle. And then I've got this little die cut star or laser cut star that I got at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to put it at the very top peak of the inside of the house. And that's how easy this was, and I think it came out beautiful. I decided not to add words, although you could. I think sometimes it just speaks for itself, especially a nativity scene or a creche. I think that, we all know this is about the birth of our Savior. Let me know what you think. Block DIY, I'm going to use 2 1/4 blocks. I have one that I cut down like halfway and then some more off of the side of it. And I've got 3 little beads. 2 are the same size and one's a little smaller. And this little mini crate. And then I've got this lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree and burlap from the Dollar Tree. All of this stuff is from the Dollar Tree. Then I'm going to use the Amy Howard Bauhaus Buff colored paint. It's just a creamy off-white. It's beautiful. And I'm going to paint the crate except for the inside, and I just like that look. Then I'm going to take some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to get a little on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then just really lightly go around the edges and over all the middles and everything. And this is dry brushing, just to give it a little bit of a distressed kind of antique look. And I think it's just really nice. I'll also do the same thing on the back where I painted as well. I'm going to take a piece of masking tape, kind of fold it over, and then put the 2 blocks on there that holds them down while I paint them very lightly with the steel colored chalk paint by Waverly. I didn't do the back because it's going to be glued straight down. Then I'm going to take the little beads and I'm going to paint all 3 of them hazelnut to give a skin color for what I believe Jesus and Mary and Joseph's skin would be like, because they are from the Middle East. I'm going to then take this little hanger that came from a gift bag I used, and I'm going to use it as my ornament hanger. This is going to be a cute little nativity ornament, and put that on there with hot glue and a little bit of masking tape and glue, just because that really gives it an amazing hold. And you see me doing that all the time on my channel. Now I'm going to take the Mary block and I'm going to make her just a little lower than the bottom of the crate, so I want her to seem a little shorter. And then I'm going to take the Joseph block and put him even with the bottom, and that makes him a little taller. And then I'm going to put each of their heads right above their block bodies. Now I'm going to cut a very thin piece of the burlap, and we're going to use that as a covering for Mary's head, because back in those days, all of the women wore coverings. And so I'm just going to hot glue that on and wrap that around her head, and that becomes her, I don't know what it's called in Hebrew, but it's just a little covering for her head. It's what all of the Orthodox women would do. Even to this day, they still would do that. Now I painted the little baby Jesus block in the white color because we're going to cover it, and we're going to put a little piece of that lace over it, and then I'll put his little head right on there. And the lace that I have from Dollar Tree is just a little bit too wide, so I'm going to cut off one little edge of it once I figure out how long it needs to be. And then I'll just cover it perfectly. I just want it to look a little bit like a cloth that was on him. So there we go. And then it's a little excess on the end, which I'm just going to put a dab of hot glue and tack that right down. I've got a bunch of different stars, and I picked one. I'm going to put it right above the top of them because, there's always a star in a nativity scene. And honestly, that's it. This one was so easy. Somebody requested this, and I just wanted to say thank you. It was a great idea to do with the blocks, and I'm so excited that I did it because I love having this now. Let me know what you think. Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to use 15 of the blocks. I've also got these adorable little ornaments from Walmart. They came like 6 in a packet for $2.48. So I've got the little signs and then a couple little reindeer. Now I'm going to use my combination of hot glue and Aleene's tacky glue, and I'm going to start attaching 3 on the short sides across. And I'm going to do 3 sets of those, because what we're going to do is make like 4 little window panes kind of looking thing, if you will. I'm not sure how else to describe this one. So once I have all 3 of those done, I will also attach those pieces that go in between, and you can see how it creates like 4 little window panes. That's what it's going to look like. So I'm just going to add on that piece that looks like an E, all of the glue, and then I'm going to add the middle piece there. I had already done the 3 individual pieces, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing with the remaining pieces and just create that shape that I showed you. You could put these together in any order that you want. This is just sort of how it worked out for me. And then I end up with another E shape, and I just attach that right to the one I've already completed. If you are enjoying this video, I hope you will hit that like button and come back again. And if you're not subscribed, I would invite you to do so because I just love having you here and it's really fun to hang out with you. I enjoy your company and I hope you enjoy mine. I'm going to add a little piece of twine as a hanger with some hot glue and some masking tape and glue like I like to do because it's very good hold. There you go. Now I'm going to mist it with my little mister that I get at Amazon, and I'm going to use my lacquer colored chalk paint by Waverly and paint the entire thing. Then I'm going to take those ribbons off of those ornaments that I got at Walmart because we're going to use them as just little pieces of decor on this. I'm going to call it a little window, and we're just going to add the ones that go vertically are the ones that have the 2 Christmas trees. I'm going to put them kind of in the center and leave the red stripe in the middle there. And then the one that says Noel, I'm going to do a cross, and the joy one to the other side across. And it makes a little box in the middle there. And I think it looks so pretty with the red. And then I'm going to put a little reindeer up in the top right corner and the bottom left. And I only put the glue on the side that's actually going to be touching the Jenga blocks. Now it looked like it needed something else to me. So I'm going to take these holly leaves and some berries, and I'm just going to cut them down a little bit smaller, try to retain as much of the shape as possible because otherwise it would cover up everything. So I wanted to make sure that it just as an embellishment, it doesn't take over the entire thing. This could be either an ornament or a little wall hanging or a shelf sitter or on a tier tray. I think whatever you want it to be, I think it would be super cute. And I'm just going to add some berries, right, like I said, right to the center. And I think that was the finishing touch. I love this one. It was kind of an impromptu thing. I made it up as I went. And I know sometimes it's fun to do, sometimes it's fun to plan them. So I encourage you to use your creativity and see what happens and let me know what you think. DIY is so easy and inexpensive. I'm just using the Tumbling Tower Box from Dollar Tree, some of the brown ones and some of the natural wood ones. And I'm just creating 3 different shapes, kind of staggering them and hot gluing them together. And then on the dark one, I'm going to put some of those little, I always call them bumps, but they're just little round, half-rounded stickers. Just to give it texture, I'm going to paint that with some red paint, both sides. And I am going to give it 2 solid coats. I got these stickers at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to spell out the word Noel and just kind of space them appropriately. And what I'm making is like a reverse stencil. So I'm actually going to paint with white over the top of the stickers. So I'm making sure they're adhered very well. And I really push down hard around all of the letters. And I'm going to give it 2 coats of plaster paint. And then when it's dry, I'm going to peel off the stickers like with my little weeding tool, and the wood shows from underneath, and it's like a reverse stencil effect, and it's so easy and so cute. For the next one, I'm going to spell out the word joy. I made this one a little bit smaller, and I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint in the color celery. I just love that color. And I'm going to do 2 coats, and when it dries, again, I'm going to use the little weeding tool, which is just really a pointy little thing. I got it at Dollar Tree, actually. And I'm going to remove the stickers, and it reveals the word joy in the natural wood. Now that the original one I started with, the red one, has dried, I'm using these gold stickers, also from the Dollar Tree, but I'm going to leave those on there because I love the way that looks. So here they are, all finished. Got them in the 3-tier tray along with that other sign, and they just turned out so cute. I hope you like them. Let me know in the comments. I didn't remember to film the first part. I kind of got excited and creative and forgot to turn the camera on, so I'll walk you through it. I used the Tumbling Tower Blocks from Dollar Tree and also some of the large popsicle sticks to make this. I've been using the natural wood Tumbling Tower Blocks for projects, but leaving the painted ones, so I thought maybe I'll use them in this project because I can paint over them. I used my hot glue to put 9 of the Tumbling Tower Blocks together in stacks of 3. I repeated this to make all 4 sides and glued them all together. And then I created a square, and you can see that 2 sides that are opposing each other fit inside of the other 2 in order to make the finished box. On what would be the top side, I took 4 of the large popsicle sticks and just framed around so that there would be nothing showing of the tumbling tower blocks. And of course I cut off the rounded ends of the popsicle sticks for every single one that I did use. I used 9 of the large popsicle sticks then, and I attached them to the very top. As you can, this is from the underneath view, but I did that all the way across to create the front of my sign, and I used my hot glue gun to do that. Once all of the popsicle sticks were attached and everything looked the way I wanted it, I took my Waverly Antique wax and I went ahead and stained the top and then rubbed off the excess with a paper towel. I then painted the tumbling tower blocks with the folk art chalk paint in the color Cascade, and I just did the outside and the very bottom. I took some of my nautical rope and I just hot glued it around the very top outside edges just to give it a little extra trim. And here's another view so that you can see it from a different angle. And at this point we are caught up to where I did film what I was doing. I was looking for a cute little saying having to do with coffee that was pretty short, and I found all kinds of things, and then all of a sudden I got this idea I could do something really different. And so I got my stencils out and my square ruler, which I now know what it's called. Thank you, Alan, from Alan's music channel. And I am now trying to figure out a way to measure this to find out the center. I was watching a crafter's channel, and I wish I could remember which one it was. I apologize that I don't. She shared this trick. If you're measuring something and it's not an even number, you can tilt your ruler until you get to an even number on the edge and then mark it right in the middle there, and you will find your center. And it really worked. So there you go. I did spend some extra time trying to calculate where I actually wanted to put the letters once I had my center. And part of it was I needed to figure out the height of the letters and where everything would fall in the midst of it. And afterwards, it also occurred to me I could have probably done a diagonal measurement and gotten the center that way. But hey, there's more than one option. Once I found the exact spot where I wanted to put my letters, I taped a straight edge to it as a guide so that I would be able to line them up. And I got my stencil out and I used a little dabber and a very small amount of the white chalk paint by Folklore. And I went ahead and I started spelling the word coffee. Now I need to tell you guys, I am terrible at stenciling. I taped down the letters, I cut them out, and they still bled, which means I had to go in and do touch-ups, and maybe it's because they were small, but I just don't do well at stenciling. I'm going to have to look into some good stickers or vinyl, because this is just a pain. It took me forever to get them right. Once I did get the letters on, I took a little art brush and I connected any of the open spots on the letters because I didn't want them to look as much like stencils, so I filled those in. And when I did that, I overpainted, so then I had to go back with the Waverly wax in antique, and this went back and forth for I don't know how long, and I'm not going to show you all of it because it just took forever. I finally got to a place where I decided it was good enough. I mean, it is homemade, so it didn't have to be perfect, and I let it go. And this is the part that I made up, which was the hashtag coffee. Even though I'd looked for so many sayings, I had never seen this, and I thought, oh, how cute and how hip would that be? In order to balance the words across the middle, I added a heart with my stencil at the other end, and that just really, for me, completed that part. I cut a few pieces off of that same greenery that I used for the picture frame project so that I could add a little more flair to this and it wouldn't be quite as plain. And I did similar kind of a design with the greenery in the corner, but then I didn't want to do flowers, so I just wrapped the two pieces in each corner together around where the stems met with my jute. And then I attached that with my hot glue gun right to the picture on the opposing corners. And I really thought it came out cute. I'd love to know what you think and how you would have done this, if you would have done anything different, or if you have any other ideas, that would be fun. So let me know in the comments. Now, wouldn't you know that I completely forgot to put Mod Podge over the top to kind of seal the paint, and I'd already put the greenery on, so I got my Mod Podge out and a little foam brush, and I just worked around everything. And you know what? It worked out, but silly me, I completely forgot to do that step. So note to self for the next time, get the Mod Podge on before you add anything extra to the top. It's always good to keep learning and keep an open mind because things happen and you just have to adjust. And here is the finished sign. I am so happy with how it came out. No, it's not perfect, but it's so cute and it looks so good by our coffee bar. And here's just another view so you can kind of see the outside where I painted it. And those are the dog treats sitting there on the counter with it. But anyway, I just really love how it turned out. Let me know what you think. The idea for this DIY on Pinterest, and it's so simple. You take literally one block, and I actually had one little brown one left, and then you use a keychain holder and a little, I think it's called an eye hook, and you can get those at any hardware store or Amazon. And I'm going to take the little block and I'm going to sand every single edge there is because I want to round them out a little bit and not make them very sharp. Then I'm going to clean up all the sawdust with my Ladybug vacuum from Amazon, and I do that with all the other ones. I don't always film it. And there's the block now that it's all sanded down. And then I'm going to open up this map of Ohio, which is where I live, and I'm going to find the area where I live, and I'm going to cut a piece of the map that is in that area. And then I'm going to cut a piece of the map that says Cincinnati proper, because I'm going to put that on the other side of the block. And then I'm going to cut an extra little edge to go on the sides of this block as well. And then I'm just going to take a little utility knife, and I'm going to use the block to actually score and cut them out. Now that I have the pieces cut out, I'm going to place them on my little block and see how they're going to fit. Then I'm going to take my little eye hook and I'm just going to push it into the center of one of the little short sides. And then I'm going to take that little hole I pushed in and I'm going to start twisting. And it really doesn't take much to get that thing in there, and then you just twist it all the way in. And then a little trick that I use, and you can consider this a hack maybe, is to take a staple remover and I'm going to clip right between the two rings on the key holder and hold it open so that I can place the little stick on with the eye hook. And that's how you get it on there. Then I'm going to use some Mod Podge. Just going to use the matte kind so it's not shiny, and I'm going to put some on, and then I'm going to take one of my little matte pieces and I'm going to go ahead and put it on, press it firmly, then cut off the excess and then glue that piece on. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the other piece because it's really one piece is for two different sides. So then I cut it and place it again. Then I'm going to take a nail file from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to go around all the edges. I really want to get a nice clean edge and then just have the map kind of on the flat sides. When that is all done, I'm going to also sand around the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to get a Mod Podge out again and I'm going to put it over the entire thing, and that's it. It's the cutest little keychain, honestly. I can't believe how easy this was. There are so many possibilities with this. You don't have to use a map. You could use cute scrap of paper, whatever you like.
I am making a perpetual calendar. I don't know if you've ever seen those before. They're made out of wood and then they have the months of the year and the different dates on the blocks. So you can, change the date to whatever you want. I'm using a total of 63 blocks for this, some wood glue, and I'm going to go ahead and start assembling the pieces. So for the rectangle part of this, it's going to take 8 pieces across and 8 pieces on the bottom and then 5 on each side. So I'm working on those right now, and I'm just putting them together in those increments of blocks and using a generous amount of glue because, you know, wood glue does become part of the wood, and that's the best hold you can get. For the blocks that are going to have the date numbers on them, you will need 12 tumbling tower blocks for each one of those. And I'm going to alternate the direction they go. It just makes it look more interesting, I think. I do end up painting them, so you're not going to actually see that. But if I would, especially if I was going to leave them natural, I just think it looks really cool to see the different directions of the wood. But you can see here, I've made little sections of 3. There's 4 of them for each of the date blocks, and then I'm gluing them together. And there's my block. Finally got some clamps, you guys. I'm so excited. I got them at Lowe's, so they were actually a really good price. I am going to clamp this together so that it sets up really nice. Now I am working on assembling the main body of it. So I've got 8 on the bottom. Each side has 5, and I'm figuring out the best way to do this. With the wooden blocks that will have the date numbers on them, I can take the 2 sides and start them on the inside of the A block. See how I didn't put it next to it? I put it right on the inside there on the edge. If I want to use a different kind of a block, which I'll show you in a minute, another option, I would have wanted those to be on the sides to make it just a little bit wider. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to use wood blocks, you can do it just like this perfectly. If you decide to use my other option for the date blocks, you'll want to make sure it's wider. And there it is, the whole rectangle. And now I'm going to work on the little blocks that have the months. So you need 6 of those because you're going to put a month on each side. And I did use my Cricut, and I used a font that makes me think of like Ray Dunn because I wanted this to kind of have a Ray Dunn look. I'm going to glue these pieces together now to create my little section where that's going to sit. And then I'm going to take those other blocks and paint them all white. So here I am creating the housing for my months of the year. Now, I will tell you, I did make a mistake, and I don't know if you can tell, but on the left there's a block that's hanging down just a little bit too much. I pushed it back up, you just saw, and then it goes down again, and I didn't catch it, and it ends up setting that way, and I can't get all my blocks in there now. So I could take it apart and fix that, but I'm just not going to this time. I didn't want my little calendar to be just plain wood, so I'm sanding it down, and I'm going to use some really nice scrapbook paper. You see that blue buffalo check scrapbook paper I got at Hobby Lobby? I'm going to use that. My first thought I was going to do the trim in this yellow with my Arteza paint pens. I did change my mind, and I ended up painting it white after, so whatever you like. It's got to go with your decor. I don't know why I thought the yellow would go. It definitely doesn't. So you'll live and learn. Now I'm going to start cutting out this paper to attach to all of the sides. I'm going to keep that trim a color. In this case, it's going to be white, but I'm cutting the pieces that fit all around the outside of that housing and in the inside as well. I'm going to use Mod Podge to attach the scrapbook paper. And there you see me applying it. This is to the very top. And so that's the first piece. And then I'm going to put the 2 on the side of that. And I use my little nail file to go around the edges and just sand in a downward motion to get rid of the excess. I always think that's the cleanest way. There I've done all the pieces, and I've repainted the trim white. And I just think it's so cute, you guys. I love it. It's very farmhouse, and it'll go with my things. Now these are the ones I'm going to use for the months. Anytime I use the blocks like this, I do sand around the edges because they do get kind of sharp. So I did that first. And I'm going to paint them in the Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint, and I'm going to seal them with my polyacrylic protective finish. And then I'm going to, when they dry really well, I'm going to put my decals on there. This would be very easy to do even without a cutting machine because you could use stickers or handwrite it. Now I'm also going to do my polyacrylic protective finish all over. Now here's the other option. You could get these foam dice from the Dollar Tree. You could paint them all white or whatever color you want and then put your letters on there, but then you have to make your housing wider, like I said. So I did take my little orbital sander and I did go around these because there's a lot of ridges, and I'm doing some wood filler on them as well just to kind of make it smoother. And then I'm going to paint them with that Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint. I just love that clean look. Once they dry, I'm going to go ahead and cover these also with the polyacrylic, and then I went to the Cricut and I just printed out numbers. I have another perpetual calendar at home, so I was able to see exactly which numbers should go on which block. I'll put that down in the description box for you. Not all of them need to be on both blocks. It's just one of those things, and because the 6 can be a 9, you can just turn it over upside down. I think this would be a really great gift that you could customize. I love how it turned out, and I hope you guys like it.
tower block hack. I'm going to use 5 tumbling tower blocks and 7 of the bigger popsicle sticks and some black chalk paint and the white Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint and my miter shears. I'm going to cut off the 2 ends of the popsicle stick, and then I'm going to eventually adjust it to the right length that I need. Right here I wasn't sure, but I did sand both of the edges, and then one of the edges I rounded, and that's kind of like the bottom of this is going to be like a piano. And then I'm going to take some scraps that I had and I'm going to put them on the back and just secure all these pieces together by putting 2 rows of those cut up popsicle sticks. I'm going to paint the whole thing with the white, and then I'm going to take a piece of tape and put my 5 tumbling tower blocks on it and use the chalkboard black paint for that. And I'm going to do everything but the bottom. And once I've got that, I'm going to distress the keyboard. This is going to look super old-fashioned. I'm going to use my mister with some water in it and dry brush my antique wax by Waverly and just kind of wipe it off with a baby wipe. And then I'm going to add the little black keys or tumbling tower blocks, and I'm going to make what looks like part of a piano. I love this so much. I just think it's so cool looking, and I got inspired by something I saw on Pinterest. I'm going to put some craft paper on the back and take off what I don't need, and then I put together some rub-on transfers and some other stickers so that I could get the words I want. I didn't have all the letters I needed. So I cut up some of those little stickers and I like made them into letters. Like you can see the WKT and the 2 I's. That's going to end up being the word with. Yeah, you got to get creative when you run out of stickers. And it is going to say, "It is well with my soul." And I didn't have 2 L's, so I took those 2 welcome stickers and I just cut off an L off the second one and made it work. So you literally just rub on the back of the transfer with something a little pointy or sharp until you see the paper come away, and then you kind of lift it up. And if it doesn't come off, you keep rubbing. I'm going to use tacky glue, Aleene's tacky glue, to put on the word well, because that's just regular paper. That part wasn't sticky. It had a little foam sticker on the back that I peeled off. And now it doesn't, you can't even tell it wasn't one piece. And I took my brayer and kind of rubbed over it to make sure it was laying very flat. And then I had another kind of a letters rub-on transfer, and I was able to do the word soul with that. I love this so much. I'm going to put some Mod Podge over the top of the whole thing. And then I'm going to take some rope that I got at Walmart. I'm going to start at the bottom about halfway across, and I'm going to hot glue it all the way around. I'm going to make room for a hanger by pulling it up higher than the top, and then come all the way around the other side and meet up where the other piece ended. And I think this one is gorgeous. Let me know what you think.
Walk with me, lead the way, I will follow. You woke me up.
This inspiration piece from Kirkland's is adorable. Now, it wasn't outrageously expensive at $16.99, but I thought I could do it for less. I'm going to use one of those little house pieces from Dollar Tree, some paint, some craft sticks, and some Jenga blocks. I'm going to start with 7 Jenga blocks, and I'm going to hot glue them together side to side to make the base. I'm going to paint this base black using the ink paint from Waverly in the chalk paint. Next, I'm going to remove those flowers and the pieces of felt from the top of this house. For some reason, I have the hardest time with this. I use heat, I used a utility knife, you name it. I finally got everything off, and then I sanded it. That seems to be the go-to for me, is sanding those things off. And then I cleaned it up with my Ladybug vacuum, and I'll put that link in the description box for you. I am going to paint this with some white acrylic paint. It's from a sample I got at Lowe's for like $1, great deal. And I just love the way it looks when it goes on. I'm going to remove the stickers from the back, and I'm going to paint the entire house because I want the back to look nice too. The inspiration piece had some lines on it to kind of look like shiplap, so I'm using my square ruler to do that. I ended up going a little off on one of them, but it's okay. It still looks nice. I don't know what I did or why I did that, but there you go. Now I'm going to take my little sanding sponge from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to lightly sand down those lines to dull them a little so that they look a little bit more like just edges of wood. I had these little greenery rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree, and so I need to recreate that wreath that was on the top, and so I cut a bunch of little pieces and just kind of curved them around. And then all you have to do is remove the back and just kind of scrape over the top, and that releases from the plastic, and when you lift it up, it will now be attached to your wood. It's a very, very easy transfer. It looks really nice. I mean, it was $1 and I've used this for so many projects and I still have a bunch left over. So if you ever see this at Dollar Tree, you should definitely grab it. I used some gingham or buffalo check ribbon, just like the inspiration piece had, although mine is just a little bit bigger squares. And I made a teeny little shoestring bow with it. I'm going to hot glue it right on top, just like theirs was. And then I'm going to trim the tails of the bow so that it looks like the one that I'm trying to recreate. Now the roof was a challenging part for me. Never did well in geometry in school, and this kind of with a little bit of geometry. So I'm using these craft sticks, trying to figure out how long I need to make it, measuring it. I'm using my miter shears, which are awesome. Put the link for that in the description too if you're interested. And I'm going to sand them and try to create a roof line. Now it occurred to me as I was messing with this that I needed to lift up a little higher. So after I figured out the top pieces and kind of the front pieces that would go next to them, I realized I needed to lift it up. So I put a couple of Jenga blocks, one on each side, hot glued it down, and then I'm going to paint it black and start assembling my roof. That solved my problem. Now anywhere that I overpainted a little bit with the black onto the white, I did go back and I touched it up after everything was dry. So if it looks a little messy, it's all taken care of. I'm hot gluing those two front pieces directly onto the Jenga box, and then the other two larger craft stick pieces will go right across the top of the roof and meet at the point. Now I did find there was a little gap. You know, you can't see it in the picture here, but it's there. So I did end up putting in a little teeny piece of a craft stick that I cut, and that fixed it. It raised up the point a little better. And so I just paint that black after I glue it in, and then I can put those pieces of the roof on, and it works perfectly. I really love how this one turned out. It's so cute. There's the original in the picture. Now, I did not film for some reason what I did on my Cricut, which was I looked up fonts to try to match the best I could. And so there are basically 4 different fonts here. And then I added a tail with a black marker to the word family. And I don't remember the name of the fonts. I'm so sorry. I really hope you guys like it. Let me know in the comments. Really cool corner shelf on Crate & Barrel's website for $129. Let's do it for less. If I mentioned that I bought something at Amazon and it's something that you need too, you will find the link to my Amazon store down in my description box and you can get it from there. I'm going to be using my Kills White primer paint and this sign that I got from Dollar Tree. First thing I'm going to do is take off the tag, and then I'm going to turn the sign over, and I have this awesome tool from Amazon that makes it so easy to remove staples, and I'm going to go ahead and remove those and take the little hanger off because I don't need it. Then I'm going to take my square and another little ruler, and I'm going to figure out exactly how to cut the line diagonally across because I want the 2 pieces to be equal. I'm going to use a blade and just keep scoring over it until it's worn down enough for me to bend it in half, and then I can cut the rest of it all the way through. And the reason I'm doing this is that I need a triangle piece for this shelf, and this is going to be a perfect thickness by putting the 2 pieces together. I'm going to sand the edges, and of course that made a mess, so I'm going to use my little ladybug tool from Amazon and vacuum it up, which I love that thing. Then I'm going to take some hot glue and I'm going to put it on what used to be the front. I removed the paper, and then I'm going to put them together. So all that you see now are the back sides. Now I'm going to take that white primer and I'm going to use a foam brush, and I'm just going to put it on all in one direction. So you see what it looks like, kind of grain. Use my heat tool to dry it. I'm going to do the same thing to both sides, and I'm also going to paint around the edges. And then I'm going to use a combination of warm buff and burnt umber. I'm going to mix them together, and then I'm going to add a little bit of pumpkin by Waverly, the chalk paint, and I'm trying to get this really kind of warm wood look like the picture had. So after mixing them together, I'm going to put this on, again, all in the same direction to give it a wood grain kind of a look. I'm going to end up doing 2 coats to get it dark enough, and of course I'm going to do this to the back and the sides as well. And then I'm going to take a kind of a stiff chippy brush and just go across it and try to make those grain lines look more real. Originally I was going to use these painter sticks, and I ended up switching to the very thick dowels that I have. And I honestly can't remember if I got those at Dollar Tree or Walmart. Either way, I'm using my miter shears from Amazon to go ahead and cut them to fit that length of the base of the triangle, or at least the bottom part you see there. And I'm going to end up doubling it up. I'm going to take all the skewers that I'm going to use, and I'm going to put them in some foam and just paint them all with the ink chalk paint from Waverly. I'm going to take 2 of the skewers that I measured out already to fit that long side of the triangle. I'm going to use a combination of E6000 and hot glue to attach it. And like I said before, I am going to double up. I'm going to wipe away some of that excess so it doesn't get everywhere. And hopefully this will keep it in place. If I had really good power tools, I could have cut those thicker paint sticks, but I don't. So that's why I ended up using the dowels. And it's not my first choice, but it does end up looking nice. Now I'm just kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to end up positioning those side pieces. It's really tricky. I've got the one that is going to be supporting the very middle of the triangle. And like I said, I'm doubling all of them up just to give them a little more thickness like the picture had. This was the hardest part. I had to use jars of paint and different things to kind of position it, and you'll see me using my level a lot to keep this in place. It was very tricky because of how it rests right on the point of that triangle. I'm going to touch up where the hot glue might be with some of my black paint. And now back to positioning the shelf. Like I said, I'm using paint jars, my level, and I have to do this back and forth, back and forth. This was literally the trickiest part. And I'm going to do some hot glue, and I don't think you see me doing it, but I also added some E6000, whatever I could find to make this secure. And I just kept adding more, peeling off excess, using the level to check it. This was the most challenging part, no question about it. It's not like anything else was difficult. This was just challenging. So then I flipped it over, did the same thing. I decided that that very back piece needed to be thicker, so I'm going to take my tumbling tower blocks and I'm going to paint them all in the ink paint, and then I'm going to hot glue them to the lower and the upper portion of that skewer that's supporting the point of the triangle, and that really helps support the shelf, and it looks nicer too. So I'm glad that I came up with that idea, even though, like I said, if I'd only had power tools, I would have definitely done the wider paint sticks. Now I'm going to place all those blocks on there just to make sure I know how many I need, and paint the next set, and then I will go ahead and hot glue them all right to the skewers. And then I'm going to flip it over to the other side there and do the bottom or the top, whichever way you look at it, as well. I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue on both sides just to reinforce where the tumbling tower block meets the shelf itself. And of course, I'm constantly checking to see that it's level. And just like I said, making sure that it is as secure as possible because it looks so precarious the way it's sitting there. Now I'm going to take those doubled up skewers that I cut and measured to go from one edge of the shelf to the top and one edge of the shelf to the bottom. Now I accidentally did it backwards from the picture, but it really doesn't matter, and I think it looks good either way. But I just hot glued those, and they really aren't holding any weight, so it's okay to just use hot glue on those. I really love how this turned out, and I have a perfect place to put it. And I'll tell you, I do like a good challenge, and literally this one only cost me $3 plus paint and glue. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Market wood platform set. There were two here for $148. I decided to make one and I made it square instead of rectangle. Now this, I'm just using paint sticks and some paint, so it's really not going to cost very much. The paint sticks are the ones I got from Amazon, and that's apple barrel burnt umber paint with some water mixed in to create a stain. And I'm going to stain every single piece of the wood, all sides, edges, top, bottom. Once that's done, I just looked at the picture and figured out how many I might need for the top. I think I did 12, and then I had for each of the 4 sides. And then I also decided that in order to do this, I was going to have to use some of my tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to use my square so I can get a good right angle, and I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and liquid adhesive from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to attach all my pieces. Now I'm going to use this only for lightweight things, so I wasn't too worried about the weight of it. If I needed this to hold something heavy, I would have absolutely used wood glue and probably E6000 together. And now I'm just assembling it, and I'm taking the cross slats over the top, and I'm going to attach each one, and I'm going to complete that top. Then I'm going to assemble the sides and the legs, and the legs are what I'm going to use the tumbling tower blocks for. I'm going to stain those as well with the mix that I had made. And then I'm going to take 2 of the tumbling tower blocks and use a combination of the liquid adhesive and the hot glue together. And then I'm going to stack that 2 high. So it's going to be 4 tumbling tower blocks for each leg. And then I will attach the side slats that go down a little bit lower. So there's the ones that are up close to the top, and then the one I'm putting right now on the side. And of course there's 4 of those as well. Now this was pretty easy to assemble once I figured out kind of the pattern of it. I think it's really cute, but I did want it to be a little more stable. So I don't know if the other one had this, but I added pieces underneath like crossbars just to make sure that this could hold anything at all, even just little decor pieces. I decided to add 1 more coat of stain, and then I took it outside and did a clear coat over the entire thing. And I love it. What do you guys think?
Red pickup truck with the pumpkins in the back on Kirkland's website. It was on sale for $55.99. I think we can make it for under $10. So here I've got a truck wood cutout from Dollar Tree. I got some raffia from a hula skirt. I didn't end up using that metal. You'll see what I do instead. And I've got a bunch of pumpkins and florals and some Jenga blocks. I'm going to use my antique wax by Waverly. I'm going to paint both sides of the truck and all of the Jenga blocks. I'm going to attach the Jenga blocks to the back on the bottom to become a stand. Now the original one had an easel, but I decided to do a stand. In hindsight, I think the easel would have been better. And I used a marker to paint the tires. I will change that also later. I'm going to use 3 different paints from Waverly. Crimson, which is the body of the truck. I'm going to use maize and pumpkin. And I do that to distress the truck. So I just dry brush, get a little bit on my brush, wipe most of it off, and then just kind of drag it across in places wherever I want. And that's with just the pumpkin. Now I'm gonna add the maze. It just adds so much texture, makes the truck feel like it's really worn and like that old pumpkin truck. You know what I mean? The pickup truck on a farm. I love that. Now I'm gonna use my chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree. I'm gonna go in and fix those tires. That marker just turned out kind of looking brown, so this makes it really black. And I'm also going to distress all the way around the edges of everything pretty much with that black. I love the way that looks. Now I'm going to use plaster color and then this silver from Folk Art. I'm going to use the silver first and do the rims on both the front and the back tire. Then I'm going to take the plaster and very lightly make some lines. And what I'm trying to do is create a kind of corrugated metal look. And I think this really does the trick. Look at that. It almost looks like it's textured. So I'm really happy with that. I'm going to take my utility knife, and I got some pumpkins from a combination of Hobby Lobby and Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut them so I can lay them flat on the truck, like coming out of the truck. So then I'm going to take my hula skirt pieces and I'm going to glue them all over the back of the truck there. Trim them a little bit. And then I will use hot glue and attach my pumpkins, and I'm going to cut a few more. And by the way, I did a whole video using the Dollar Tree hula skirts. I'll link that down in the description. You might want to see all the crazy things I did with that. So now I'm adding an orange pumpkin, and then I have another little orange pumpkin I'm going to add, just using my hot glue to attach them. They're so light, so hot glue just works fine. And then I've got some sunflowers, and some of them came from the Dollar Tree and some came from Hobby Lobby. I'm going to use the hot glue to stick them on in various places, just make it look pretty. By the way, this is an inspired piece, not an exact dupe. I'm going to take the back of this calendar from the Dollar Tree, and it just said Farm Fresh Pumpkins. I trimmed it. I'm going to take a little piece of a basket I took apart, and I'm going to create a little frame for it. Just kind of rip those pieces apart, and we'll use fabric tack glue to attach the paper from the calendar right on the door of the truck. Then I use my hot glue to attach the little pieces of the basket and frame it out. And I just like that look. It's kind of got that paneled feeling. I'm loving how this is turning out, by the way. I'm going to take my fawn paint from Waverly. I'm just going to distress the pumpkins a little and give them a little more dimension by putting some lines in the indentations. And then I just dirty them all up. I just love it. I used a fine point marker to just kind of give more definition. Oh, and can you guess who wants this in their office now? Let me know if you know. I hope you like this one.
This little truck cutout that I got at the Dollar Tree, and then some scrapbook paper, cute little cow skin print. And then this is a piece from the back of a calendar. It's one of the months of one of the Dollar Tree calendars. And then this one is the Farmer's Market from 2021 calendar. I'm going to use a piece of that. I'm going to take off the label, which actually came off super easy this time. Yay. And then I'm going to figure out how much of the scrapbook paper that I need to cover the box part of the truck. This isn't like your typical truck. It's sort of like one of those little mini box trucks. I'm just going to cut that piece out, and then I am going to use a glue stick from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to attach that right over the box part of the truck. I want it to look like a little dairy truck. Once I have that attached, I'm going to take my nail file and I'm just going to file around the edges, only going downward so that I can take off that excess bit of scrapbook paper that's on there, and it gives me a nice clean edge. I love that. I've got a bunch of little pieces of wood, and I didn't have one that would fit the exact size of the little baby sign that I have there, so I'm going to just hot glue two of them together to make a nice little platform to put that on. And so I'm just gonna use my hot glue, put them together, and then I'm going to take my scissor blade. I'm gonna go around the edges of my little sign there and just rough it up. I love doing that. I learned that from a friend, Linda at Faith Chick 777's DIY and Design. I'll put her link down in the description box. She's wonderful. I'm gonna add some buffalo check ribbon to each side because this is a little bigger than my sign, and I thought that would be a super cute accent. And I'll file down the edges a little bit to make sure they're nice and clean. And then I'm going to put some hot glue around the edges of this little sign and attach it directly onto the pieces of wood. And it's so cute. It's going to just look great on my little truck. Now I'm going to take the cover of that calendar and I'm just going to fussy cut around that little part that says always fresh, because that's all I actually want from it. And so I'll get that all cut out. Then I'm going to take some cardboard and I'm going to trace the shape of that little sign on there. And then I'm going to use the one I cut out and make 2 more because I want it to be a little thicker. This wasn't very thick cardboard. And I'm going to hot glue all of the pieces together to make this a little more sturdy. I didn't want it to lay perfectly flat since the other sign is on that piece of wood. And I didn't have any wood that, without having to cut it, that would fit this perfectly. And this was so much easier and faster. And it's a good little hack. Just use cardboard if you want to raise something up a little bit. For those of you who love to watch crafting videos while you craft, I have a mega playlist with a link down in my description box because I do that when I'm crafting. So there it is if you're interested. To attach the little sign, I'm going to use some Mod Podge because I don't want any lumps under it from the hot glue. And that's super easy. Of course, you just put it underneath. I'm not going to put any over the top because I don't think I really need to. Then I'm going to take my nail file and go around the edges and just kind of smooth it out. It's not wood, but I thought, what the heck, I'd try it. And then I've got this little chalk marker from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to kind of go around all of the edges, give it a little bit of a distressed look, but using the white instead of like a darker color because I kind of like that. It looks really cool. Now, I should have done this before I did anything with that scrapbook paper, but I don't know why I didn't. But anyway, I'm going to paint the rest of the truck with my Rust-Oleum linen white chalk paint very carefully around the part with the scrapbook paper. I'm going to take a black jot marker from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to go around the outside of the tires, and then I'm going to draw the circle apart for the tires and fill them in with that same marker. Now I'm looking at a picture of a truck online, and I'm just going to draw some lines that give this a little more dimension. You know, things that like a bumper and a door handle and so forth and so on. And then I decided to outline the whole thing because I thought that looked really cool. And so obviously that's optional, or you don't even have to draw on the truck part. I just thought it would look really neat to draw in the parts of the truck and just, you know, give it that little extra oomph. I'm going to attach my little always fresh sign using some hot glue right to the top of the box part of the truck. And after that's attached, I'm going to attach my little homemade sign just below it, and I think it's going to look so cute. I looked at another picture and saw that I could actually add a little more to my truck body. So that's what I'm going to do with my jot marker. I'm just going to make it look even better. I needed to put something in the middle of my tires, so I found these 2 little round pieces of scrap wood that I have. I'm going to paint them white, and I'm just going to hot glue them right to the center of each of the tires. And that is just a great little touch. And then I'm going to take my chalk marker from Dollar Tree and just go around that homemade sign. I thought that looked really cute. I've got some tumbling tower blocks that I'm going to paint black with my jot black marker. And I'm going to use them on the back to create a stand. I end up using 3 on each side. I did the last one off camera because it was so weighted on the front. I needed a little more weight in the back to make it stand up, but now it stands up perfectly. Guys, I love this. I hope you like it too. So easy, so cute, and very farmhouse fun. That's it for today. I've got another video on the screen that I think you'll really like. So if you go ahead and click on it, I will see you there. You are truly a blessing to me. Bye.